on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a
We are here. It's finally time. Just came from yesterday, but we are back here today, right here in the Conqueror League. I'm excited to go in there. I am Club Smash the Sun Wolfie Scratch, and I'm joined by my co-caster, Freedom Potatoes. Freedom Potatoes, how you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good, you know. It's been a long day at work, but I am excited to get into the best of 5 first week of playoffs Conqueror League matchup we've got here. Syndicate Solo Pickle facing off against XSV Greed. Going to be a banger game. I was reading the content piece from Prophet earlier, who was saying that these are both potentially championship caliber teams, and yet they are, one of them's got to go home today. So we'll see how that prediction holds up. But I'm hoping for, when I'm casting a best of 5, I'm always hoping it goes the distance.
Yeah, the casters and the production staff are on 2 different teams. One of them wants it to go to a best of 5. The other one wants to go home. Understandable, but the audience definitely want that game 5 banger. And interestingly enough, if you do look at like the standings and whatnot, one team just barely managed to actually slip into the playoffs this week.
Yeah, close, very close from the side of XSV Greed, sporting a dead even game record 9-9, making it as the 12th seed. Syndicate Solo Pickle is going to be your 5th seed. So it's, you might predict that Syndicate Solo Pickle would have the upper hand, but yeah, the prediction in this case is that it's going to be pretty close, at least if you believe the weekly content piece. Going to be a 3-2 in favor of Syndicate Solo Pickle. I don't know if you've done any research, if you have a prediction of your own, Wolfie.
In all honesty, I like to make the prediction after I see drafting, because for me, drafting capability really kind of determines like how I like to see how a team goes. But upsets are cool. Upsets are fun for a damn good reason. And I'm kind of excited to see it, especially since last time, penalized on the -2 bans. As we're gonna sit, the ban rates come around. Orianna and Jarvan, Struckaway, and Malphite, a lot of AoE big play making champions that are actually, I think one of the important parts, they're also kind of easier to pilot.
Easy to pilot, easy to blind in the case of Ori and Jarvan. Malphite maybe not as much, although because he's a flex pick, also kind of blindable. And a lot of teams I would say actually would, like be wanting the Jarvan even. So it's not always something I see teams ban away on the blue side, but it is going to be the Xin Zhao taken by XSV Greed. I feel like a lot of those bans from XSV also kind of play together. A lot of times if teams don't want to see those champions, they'll just ban maybe 1 or 2 of them. If you ban the Jarvan, people might not play Ori because you don't have as good of a ball delivery system.
Sivir as well selected for the other side of Syndicate Solo Pickle. Just a powerful AD carry. Every time Sivir becomes strong, I know there's like a lot of like waves and disdain about it, because you're like, okay, if we push the wave up, we'll be able to move, and then Sivir just has pressed W, Q on the wave, it's gone, has a spell shield ready to go, and a nice team fighting ult. Ashe is selected. I would not be surprised to see Seraphine selected as well.
That Ashe Seraphine combo is pretty brutal to deal with. Really, if they got that right. I was coaching a team this split, and I feel like on both sides of that those were things that like they liked playing or struggled against, because Ashe Seraphine perma CC combo, like if even from level 1, if they get on top of you, you're not really getting away, and then with Sivir, you just perma wave clear. If and a lot of teams I think struggle to punish some of Sivir's weaknesses, like her low auto attack range and things like that. Because if you push into her, she just gets to collect the wave clear, and if you're playing a champion that doesn't have much wave clear, she can actually turn that around and push into you. So pretty hard to punish, but we'll see if that Ashe Seraphine lane has what it takes. And then of course, saw you made a little exclamation there. Silas picked up a lot of good ults on the side of XSV for Concerned Badger to steal.
Lots of them ready to go, and we're seeing the Blitzcrank banned away. Good support that can really kind of make some trouble with the hooks as well. Both hook champions, except Thresh, actually going to get struck away. As we're going to see what the selection is. With this Sivir, I wouldn't be surprised to see an Enchanter support. Okay.
Yeah, there's the Melio locked in. I mean, it's, I feel like that's actually interesting that, I feel like a lot of times I would see the team that wants to play the Enchanter ban away those hook champions. So in this case, XSV maybe making Syndicate Solo Pickle's job a little easier with those bans, or maybe they wanted to force Phenomenal onto the Enchanter pick. So we've got 2 more champions up for XSV, the Akali and the Shen. I really like picking the Shen with the divers like that, but it does put you into a full melee topside, so that might mean they lack wave clear going into the later phase of the game. Of course, solo Pickle, also not a ton of wave clear, and there's an Olaf picked up in the top lane.
I'm not gonna lie, if I'm Salas here, I'm happy with stealing any ult on the opposing team. Every single one just seems really good. Some nasty AP ratios as well. I've seen so many times of these matchups in Olaf, a powerhouse in their own right, going against the Shen. What's the game plan? What's the game plan here?
I mean, I feel like both of these teams are teams that really want to fight. I would say, like, for XSV, they have a bot lane that should be pretty winning early on, but as the game goes later, that Sivir is going to be harder and harder to deal with as that, spell shield becomes lower on cooldown. She gets faster, her team can peel for her better. I think that bot lane dynamic is, where a lot of the game is going to hinge. I mean, you've got 2 mids that want to fight each other all the time. The Shen and Olaf is also a pretty interesting matchup because, again, Olaf kind of wants a permafight. Shen is one that wants to play for his team a little more. So we'll see if XSV can utilize the Shen to kind of overload one side of the map, but we've got to fight level 1.
Yeah, both sides, actually. A battle on 2 fronts, and the bush has to flash away, and a huge chunk of HP gone. Love a little cheese attempt at the very start from this little Pickle team comp. Ooh. And as well being able to delay that back even more. This is a very tough start.
That is gonna hurt for Koopa down there in the bot lane. No flash and missing out on an entire wave. Although the wave clear coming through from Syndicate Solo Pickle actually might kind of help XSV's bot lane. If they can't get this in time, that means those minions are going to die slower, and Ashe might be able to pick up a little bit more of the wave. But it is starting to, they were able to get that in very quickly due to the Sivir wave clear, and wow, Jellybean Jeff also just taking so much poke under the turret there.
This is the nightmare situation, right? You're just like, okay, we're going into this game, we're gonna make sure that level 2, we have like a really good bot lane that we can deal with, and all of a sudden, it just gets swung on a pendulum with a nice little level 1 cheese. And also, I like that you mentioned it earlier because of the top side, all of them are actually gonna be melee.
Yeah, every single champion in the game is melee up there. So I guess maybe for either team they're not as concerned about that lack of wave clear because they're not really running siege comps, and so they should be able to kind of manage into each other's respective melee heavy teams.
Ooh, and already both of these mid laners trading it out, duking it out. That's a lot of damage, and keep in mind, remember, Silas had to use TP in order to come back to the wave, so you're gonna have to hold it. You're just gonna have to try to regen the HP, the flash forward, and as well as the ignite ticking down, but it's the early version. It's still good enough, able to burn past the health pot. First blood secured for Sinja, and that's a huge one. Salas has no TP.
Sinja, I wanted to touch on this earlier, but like Sinja, I think is just one of the best assassin players in this league, and already 2 minutes into the game is showing us why that's the case with the solo kill, even after Concerned Badger had TP'd back to catch the wave. So I guess that might have been because of the level 1 bot lane play that Syndicate Solo Pickle did, now that I think about it, but in any case, dominance from Sinja in the early game here. Akali is not a champion that you want to give those early kills over to because she is just going to be able to, help the jungler in those skirmishes and river, roam down to bot lane and throw a whole can of worms into the mix there. And it's a great start for the side of XSV.
Excessive violence, excessive fighting, it don't matter. But able to get so much off it, and the bot lane is starting to equalize a little bit in that damage. So we'll have to see as the sword gets poked up. Another mid fight, but if you're Concerned Badger, you kind of have to concede a little bit. You really need to play a little bit more careful on there, as the jungler is going to try to go ahead and come in, being able to simply just try to get away. Can you dodge all the abilities? No, it is stunned up. Sinja's got nowhere to go. I always kept saying that Sinja was going to be fine. I thought the jungler was hovering around, but instead we'll be eating it in the dust.
And I mean, that is the flip side there of what we saw earlier. Syndra with some great micro on the Akali, but also using the Shroud very aggressively on Akali opens you up to those ganks like that. His wave was on the, close to the enemy's tower, so he didn't have a lot of space to play with and run away. Instead, he was, trying to use that Shroud to pop some wave clear down, get the wave in, and yeah, Viego showing up when he has no flash and no shroud means it's a pretty easy job to clean up that kill.
And that's like a rough thing. You're just like, oh, I've got such a great lead going for me, and immediately the jungler is just able to bail you out. So we'll see how it be able to equalize. They also concern Badger, and as well as Phoenix Fella, they have a nasty like CC chain if one of them lands it. That's just an instant like stun for both of them. And the wave is pushing. This is the power of Ashe Seraphine.
Yeah, well, and if you look at the CS numbers, despite that, frankly, horrible level 1 for the side of XSV off that level 1 cheese play, Ashe is up in CS, so... Ooh.
Olaf wants to fight, and a nice, easy 1v1. Here comes the random things, lightning. We'll have to see if the damage is able to go down. Phoenix Fella able to flash away once again. The dragon has spawned, but don't matter. One person loses their life. Concerned Badger trying to fight it off. Sinja has no energy to go off of. And keep in mind, Conqueror is going to be on Concerned Badger's end, still pushing it forward, and a missed ones. Oh my goodness. 5-point strike goes wide, and Concerned Badger able to get another kill. Great flash to get away. There is so much, and hold on. You gotta be really careful. And Sinja has the ignite ready to go. Uses the, oh my god, so damn close. Even the Shen as a little bit of a safety net. These mid laners are scrapping.
And that's, I mean, what we expected when we see the full melee top side. I think Sinja had that in the bag, but it was on a knife's edge. I think Concerned Badger was probably just a second or two away from getting that Kingslayer back up and potentially turning that fight around. But it is going to be another solo kill for the Akali. But, you know, Concerned Badger did pick up the kill onto the Xin Zhao moments prior. So mid lane still going to be actually pretty even, I think, when all is said and done here. As we take a look down towards the bot lane, Solo Mason having to play kind of defensive while his support comes back from spawn, and Smoke is in kind of a tough position here. That wave, Olaf can just hold on his side of the lane if he chooses to and make Shen walk up for CS, then all in him. He does have that Ragnarok available if he wants to go for it. And we saw him just run Smoke down moments prior. Even the Ignite, not enough to help that Shen in this early matchup.
In all honesty, it just seemed really disrespectful to try to pull up against there. Oh my god, that's plenty of damage. Milio has to run away, and speaking of that one, another fight, a whole level up. No flash, try to bait for that jungler, but there is a Ragnarok, there is an ultimate, you still gotta get right through. My goodness, gets one, and gets the second one! Olaf loves to fight for a damn good reason, and a huge lead, greatly played by the Pickle.
Up 1 level on the top laner, up 2 levels on the enemy jungler, and yeah, he loves those odds. Ooh, that might be an all-in in mid. Camera kind of jerking around a bit. Looks like it won't result in a kill for either side, but yeah, I mean, that is the exact kind of fight that Olaf loves. And even though Shen has that Spirit's Refuge, it doesn't last long enough to really stall out Olaf's damage there. He just waits a few seconds and goes right back to beating their heads in with those axes. So Pickle up 3-0 now, showing why his name is on the on the board for that team.
Hold on. Concerned Badger looking for an angle. Will back away. He still has the Akali all ready to go. The perfect execution. Both of them had those AP ratios, could be quite dangerous. And we're starting to see a little bit of a step up. I do like that you need to maintain that confidence. And keep in mind, Concerned Badger playing like this has the TP ready to go. Ooh, is able to dodge the shuriken flip. So it could be an angle as well as the support roaming up. Here comes the bait, and look at it. Everyone's joining up. Has to flash away. Oh my goodness. Viego trying to go in, looking for an angle, and it's just gonna be good enough. A 3v2 walks into the favor of the Science Soul Pickle. You gotta be careful. This is the scrapping power.
Concerned Badger using the second charge of the perfect execution to get in range for his stun and setting up that last bit of damage Syndicate needed to finish off the Akali. Very risky, playing right on the edge of his health bar there, but does do a good job bringing things back in the mid lane, and that is going to give Syndicate Solo Pickle the opportunity to go to these grubs now.
That burst damage was so fast, Potato. Even the encore from Seraphine wasn't enough to bail your own mid laner.
No, it was, yeah, I mean, because it has a long cast animation, and it's frankly a pretty slow projectile too, so, you know, the Seraphine ult, you kind of need to use it predictably. Oh, but Sinja isn't done.
Oh, the minion! The
that was just if that E lands, Concerned Badger is going right back to Fountain after TPing in once again. Would feel very bad for the Silas, but he does get to live this time around. It has rushed the Mercury's treads this time, and I'm honestly not a fan of that. Mercury's treads do not give extra magic resistance when you upgrade them from the null magic mantle, and Akali doesn't have crowd control, so you're just spending a couple hundred gold to get zero value when you upgrade that item, unless you're expecting to be fighting the enemy bot lane, which could happen around this dragon, to be fair. But yeah, it's you need to hit those combat stat spikes on the Silas if you want to win in the 1v1, because that Hextech Alternator is doing way more for Sinja than those boots are for the Badger.
100%. I completely agree with you. And we'll have to see if the shoes will be able to be slipped on and we'll bite them back, as Dragon is going to be set up. Viego charging up. Here comes the fight already, and moving it on forward. Jinzhao, audacious charge, and as well as the crystallized arrows able to land so much CC, and a shutdown in for Sinja. That's plenty of gold in the pocket. A double kill as well. We're going to see the Ashes completely running it down, just trying to escape, forcing the barrier out. Pickle, oh my goodness, Science Pickle disrespectfully walking up to that dragon, excessive greed. They still have a lot of fight. This is a close game.
They've got plenty of fight left in them. I mean, Syndra just, getting aggressive, and it looked like Will Show Them All was about to go down there, but a nice a nice Stand United from Smoke saves the Xin long enough for him to get that ultimate off and the rest of the team to show up. And Phenomenal on the Melio was not there for that fight either, so yeah, they get the fight win, and they get that Ocean Drake, which is really nice in the early game for getting through lane as well. Now, up in the top lane, Pickle has continued to extend his lead. He is up over 30 CS and has nearly taken down that first turret. So Olaf only going to get scarier from here. And I don't think there's a great champion on the side of XSV to stop him if he gets rolling. So if he can keep his foot on the gas, so to speak, and continue finding these plays, Pickle is set to take over this game.
That's what I'm terrified about. I think we're both terrified about. Because Olaf 3-0, we saw like the preview earlier where it was just a 2v1. This character, this champion, is so terrifying to deal with. I'm really concerned in how it'll be tackled. Because when this tower goes down inevitably, and as well as a gank moving on forward, Shen just try to get away. Does so, has to burn the flash smoke. But that's so much damage. Oh my goodness.
They nearly take out that Shen, who is supposed to be a tank, although I guess he's gone for the TM at first, so not so tanky yet, but still nearly deleted in just a few seconds there, and that might give Pickle the juice he needs to finish this turret. Those home guards are going to be very strong, though, letting Smoke walk back with the wave, and Xin Zhao on the bottom side is trying to steal away this blue, but the team is collapsing for Syndicate.
And burning an ability like that in front of the face, has the Akali ult ready to go. Concerned Badger uses the first part, the perfect execution, has to use the second part to try to get away, but instead it's going to be Akali reciprocating the effect. Ash try to get away, but it's going to be instead an excellent stuff by the Viego with the Heartbreaker, able to get one. Cameron looking for the resets as well, forced to use the ult defensively. Crescent Guard making sure to give their team the access to find it. Mark is on, but we got to be careful because this Olaf is happy in this top lane and continuing to put more pressure on the map.
That Olaf is up 2 levels. He's taken that first turret. We'll see if Syndicate tries to send him down bot lane or if they're just going to let him keep doing his thing, trying to take that inner turret now. But in any case, that is a champion that, in theory, I think can work into the Shen, who can, build a decent amount of armor, can stall things out with the Spirit's Refuge. No. But when the Olaf is this ahead, Shen, if he ever ults to another lane, he's just giving up so much in terms of resources and pressure on his side of the map. And that means he's kind of locked in lane with a champion that he is hard losing to for the moment.
It's a nightmare when you're a Shen player. You're going against a top laner who not only can compete with early damage, because Shen's got a surprisingly good amount, but having to go against someone who can wave clear that fast, who can just activate a nice little steroid for the attack speed to make it worse. That's such a difficult prospect. And it's Olaf, for God's sake. It's Olaf, a terrifying champion, especially with a lead.
Now, looking at the state of the game overall, it is about 2,000 gold in the lead for Syndicate solo Pickle. But XSV Greed does have that first Drake. So that you know, that's either gonna buy them some time or help them stack those dragons up. It was a very late take on the first dragon, though. The next one's still not spawning for a minute and a half here, and I expect that's where we're going to see the next big fight of this game. Although Herald will be spawning on a pretty similar timer, so the teams could choose to split the map here.
Sinja gets stunned up, but they're not chaining it together. Great escape, but that's so much damage. You have to use the second part of the perfect execution, the perfect escape. In the meantime, good push happening because of that, but here comes the all-in. Crystallized Arrow is able to land plenty of damage. Great delayed ulted by Emilio and able to go ahead. They're gonna turn it around. Oh my goodness, Salas is here. Stand united, but it's from the enemy team as bot lane. Both of them are just trying to get away. Oh my goodness, plenty of damage. Sinja! You cannot be trying to go against someone if you're not ready to fight. Sinja makes Diego disappear.
If you come for the king, you better not miss, and Sinja is the king right now. With that gunblade, with those upgraded sorcerer's shoes, just deletes the Viego off the face of this earth. No defensive stats on that champion, and he's got himself a needlessly large rod picked up as well. Now going to be doing so much damage. So it really feels like the two, you know, kings of the Rift right now are this Olaf and the Akali, but so far, you know, I think Pickle's in the better spot. He's got that Hex Drinker, going to make him so difficult even for this Fed Akali to take out.
That's what I'm scared about. I feel like that we've had plenty of attention on Sinja, you know, rightfully so, but we've yet to see the monster that the Pickle can be in these extended fights. Has literally just shown off like the 1v2 earlier on, and now is just happily pushing the top lane. Dragon will be started and probably finished. It does not seem like excessive greed is, you know, not looking panicked. And they're gonna go ahead and just able to get a clean sweep on it as the mid lane fight may be able to go. But in all honesty, Sinja's really terrifying. You cannot be disrespectfully pushing up light because we just saw what happens when you do so.
And so the teams are going to trade the Rift Herald for the Dragon. I think Syndicate Solo Pickle is pretty happy to be in that position where they have the Herald. Yes, they're down to 2 Drakes, but you know, they can always recuperate those later if they feel strong in the fight. But that Rift Herald, when you have a split push threat like the Olaf, it has the potential to really unlock the map for them in this mid game. We'll see if they can get the value they want out of it, or if it is just going to be, you know, dropped for a couple platings. And yeah, the team's kind of mostly going to reset. But as I say that,
Sir Badger ulted for fun.
Yeah. Well, Sinja also used the oh, okay.
Whoa! You're gonna burn, baby. On a rampage, Concerned Badger. Okay, you know what? Freedom Potatoes, I think you have the #1 lesson so far that I'm starting to see in this entire game. You know what lesson is?
What is that?
Learn respect. We gotta respect players. We gotta respect champions, because an ult like that right in front of Sinja's face?
He used it to try to collect the wave a little bit, which, you know, I can understand the temptation, but Sinja still had that second part of the perfect execution up on his own end as well. And as soon as Concerned Badger goes in, he just gets deleted once again. Even with those upgraded Mercury's treads, it is not enough defensive stats. And that's an interesting thing that Akali's can do, right? A lot of people kind of, you know, expect that R2 to come through, you know, while you're actively in the fight, but they can hold it for a pretty long while and kind of catch you off guard with that, you know, near blink, that instantaneous dash to get right back on top of you. And so Sinja does exactly that to punish Concerned Badger.
And poor Sinja got a little appetizer taste of what Olaf can do. Chunk of damage, and here comes the audacious charge. This is a lot of damage splash forward as well. Emilio's got no chance to go anywhere. My goodness. Wind becomes lightning and Emilio becomes gone. They're going to go ahead and keep it pushing forward. But as I'm saying this, Olaf almost has 200 CS.
He's up 50 CS on his counterpart, on a way halfway to that flame horizon. And the teams overall remain dead even in gold pretty much. It's the 2 Drakes to XSV, and that Herald still sitting in Fiendish Feller's pocket. Could swing that gold even further in Syndicate's favor, but we're still kind of waiting on that play that's really going to define who has the momentum going into the mid game. And we've got Baron spawning in 1 minute and a Dragon spawning in 2, either of which could be the nexus for that.
And Olaf does have TP available. Crystallized Arrow, able to find one. Looks like they were debating on whether to kind of go for an engage, but because of it throwing it out, I think it was the Silas, right? Trying to maybe just get like a nice little cheeky arrow hit.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
That
was Concerned Badger's stolen ult. Yeah, okay. I didn't catch that at first. Yeah, but there can be 2 Ashe ults in this game.
It's like, Ash, why'd you ult your own support? That was really messed up. You gotta be really careful. And what is that? 189? Oh my goodness. I keep talking about Olaf because I'm just terrified to see what would happen in a brawly scenario where Olaf actually is able to get involved, because 194, 3-0, the reason why the gold is so stacked up on one side is because a lot of it is on this Olaf. We'll have to see how it goes on, because now I like this. There being a lot of pressure on the top side to try to take care of it, but you're giving up map control. Uh-oh.
Ooh, Sinja dueling.
No way. We gotta learn, right? Eventually, right? Eventually, right? We
I mean, that just feels like tilt to me or something, because Concerned Badger keeps going for these fights and it keeps not working out. And, you've got to screw your head back on straight and just, do your job, collect CS. Because if you're leaning against Sinja and he just pushes into you and you keep collecting the waves, you'll be fine. You'll recuperate gold. That lead that Sinja has will gradually decrease over time in terms of the relative power if you don't keep taking these fights. But because Concerned Badger keeps fighting the Akali and losing, the game is still very firmly in Sinja's hand, at least for the side of XSV Greed. He's also got himself a 60 CS lead, more than that Olaf does over the Shen.
Respect. We need to be careful. And here comes the Rift trying to crack open this mid. That's plenty of damage because the dragon is up. Here comes Crystallized Arrow, but Olaf still has Ragnarok ready to go. Here it comes. This getting the health just shredded so damn fast. And the fight is getting developed. The fight, they just have to run away. They have to find some way to escape, but there's no running from this team. My goodness, excessive greed explode.
And for all we've been talking about how scary this Olaf is, it is Sinja who gets the upper hand. Oh my goodness. He just has the upper hand in that fight because
my God, Sinja!
Sinja is dancing all over Syndicate right now.
Oh my goodness. And the tanky member Smoke has the shield from Seraphine. Great bailout by Jelly Bean Jeff. My goodness, that is a confidence booster. But you gotta break this fight down. That was crazy.
So, I mean, Olaf can be very scary here if he's using his Ragnarok to block the CC, but it doesn't actually help him that much with Sinja's job of just doing a lot of damage really, really, really fast. You can see here, Sinja lands basically a full combo onto the Olaf, and without, yes, he has the Hex Drinker, but beyond that, doesn't have very much to help him live through that initial burst. So he has to turn tail and use the Ragnarok to run away. And without that very fed Olaf leading the pack in this fight, it's just all XSV, freely hitting the rest of the members. Sinja gets to re-enter the fight and truly dance around the opposing players, having the confidence to dive between 2 turrets, and eventually, Smoke does almost go down here, but it's Concerned Badger goes down, and then the Seraphine with the Summoner heal gets the Shen out alive. And with that, I think we can finally say that XSV Greed is truly in the lead in this mid phase of the game. It sounds like there might be a fight going on as we transition back. Okay, no, but there might be a dive in the top lane.
Concerned Badger, yeah, tuck your tail and run. You gotta do it. You can't be taking these fights. You've overextended too many times. And the strength of this Akali from Sinja is starting to really be shown as the turret is able to go down. Even all that effort mid, the blue tower is still standing.
And for how fed Pickle was, he did not get a single plating on that topside inner turret either. So while he is beating the Shen, the Shen at this point has more kill participations, has exerted a little bit more pressure on the map, and Concerned Badger.
Oh, it's ego.
No kill though.
Oh, but this is a problem. Fiendish, yeah, they see it. They gotta back up, and they're using so many resources.
Yeah, that's XSV tries to sneak the Baron, but once they are spotted out, they recognize that the members that are on there aren't all that tanky, and with the debuff that the Baron applies, they have to back off of it, but they still do manage to get an opposing teleport out. I think I saw, but it's so the game is just going to reset, and I think they can be perfectly fine with that, because they any fight they take, it feels like XSV has the power to win at this point. They are on that soul point. We've got 2.5 minutes about until that next dragon spawns, and Syndicate Solo Pickle are going to need to find a way to shut Sinja down, but it's so hard when he has so many tools in his pocket. And Concerned Badger getting fought again.
Oh, and this time has a teammate to back it up. I think that's the big thing is that Sinja is so used to players just kind of stepping up without like any reinforcements whatsoever, so Concerned Badger just needs to play with the jungler. Like, that's how you got the lead in the first place, right? You're able to work with your jungler in order to go ahead and mitigate after that 1v1. A lot of attention on this top side because Baron is up and Dragon is still got almost 1.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, you were talking about earlier, the gank setup between the Viego and the Silas, that dynamic they have.
1v2, but the strength difference is astounding, is it not?
It really is. It almost felt like Sinja didn't need his jungler there, but it is a nice insurance policy. Stand United also used by Smoke, and that is going to be the Baron claimed momentarily by the side of XSV. Greed, Olaf is down bottom side, continuing to split push, but it just doesn't have the same gravitas that it did earlier on in the game when it felt like that split push could really mean something. And now it's just a paltry compensation prize for the Baron that XSV is getting.
Ever since Olaf died, we're just like, hold on. She's just immortal like all of us. He's actually not that scary when you crack it down. So because of that, they're just kind of able to keep maintaining that lead. Because Sinja... Uh-oh. No way. Oh, don't let it be you. Don't let it be you. You can't eat like 3 tower shots. Has to use On the Hunt to try to get away. On the Hunt is incorrect because you are actually the prey. You are the hunted. And Sivir is gone.
Strange place for the Sivir to end up all by herself. And with Dragon spawning in 24 seconds, that's going to be both the Baron and the Chemtech Soul claimed by the side of XSV. Unless Syndicate Solo Pickle can pull off some kind of miracle steal here, I don't think they have what it takes to take this fight. And Sinja is just zoning Fiendish Feller off. Even in the stealth, he has to back away. That is a level 17 Akali, 4 levels up on his counterpart in the mid lane. Not the type of thing you see from mid usually. Sometimes on top because they get that bonus XP, but oh, phenomenal.
Oh, Filio, no, phenomenal. Can't get away.
Wait.
A support for a support, probably. Seraphine try to get away. Crystallized arrow just whizzes right past. Still alive, and Sinja is going to go ahead and be on the chase. Shuriken flip. Used aggressively. The Ignite ticket down as well. In all honesty, this is great. This is great for Akali because keep in mind, not only does she have death cap, she also has 16 stacks of Medjais and the smoke. Yeah, you're eating a lot of damage. I don't think you're able to try to get away. Oh, maybe an attempt on seeing if the Olaf will flinch first on that flash, but hell no. You are gonna go down, shut down, even Ignite burned, no chance. But keep in mind, that mid tower is gonna go down. That's a guarantee.
So Pickle does get another solo kill, but it's his first kill in something like 20 minutes, which is really not what we needed from the Olaf. And going back to itemization, something I wanted to touch on is that Shen actually hit 2 completed items before Olaf did, which is kind of disastrous for how fed that Olaf was, for how up in CS he was. And a big part of that is this investment into the Hex Drinker, which is useful if you're fighting the Akali, but for the rest of XSV's team that this Olaf might be fighting, not too useful of an item. And when you're playing these split pushers, a lot of times it pays to just invest into yourself in that 1v1 and try to distinctly avoid those team fights, because we saw even with the Hex Drinker, when that first fight Olaf was at broke out all those minutes ago, he went down straight through that Hex Drinker shield. So yeah, he kind of delays his own power spike and doesn't get a whole lot for it.
For Sinja, I think just saw like the extra Hex Drinker. It was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. So we'll have to see. He's able to move. But Baron buff is out. So there's still a bit of a final chance. Great smite, but you might pay for your life. Chris Lazaro able to land the CC chain. Oh my goodness, Fiendish fella. I think you are going to be dead. Koopa being able to get essentially a free kill. The term, what's that word, right? Respect, is it that I keep talking about?
Respect, yep. I mean, it has gotten to the point where it feels like even respect is not enough. It might have to just be sheer terror for Syndicate Solo Pickle, because we saw Sinja diving Concerned Badger under his own tower. It wasn't even like Concerned Badger walked up in a particularly disrespectful way by the usual standard of things. It was just being on the same screen as his opponent that was disrespectful. And, you know, it is... You know, a 5,000 gold lead doesn't usually feel insurmountable, but with how these fights have been going, it feels like XSV is really on the path to bring it home in this first game here, unless Syndicate can pull off a miracle of some sort.
I don't know what they're teaching at the Kenku Order, but for Akali, just being in earshot, just being seen was a sign of disrespect, and just instantly was able to just wipe the floor. More resources taken, more vision game being able to go on over. Baron still has 1:45 and ticking down to go. So this is a little bit of that downtime. You can hear the Naruto filler music playing. This is exactly where it's weird. Both teams just kind of have to do this awkward dance around where they're just farming, pushing, gathering jungle camps, and Sinja is looking to kill somebody.
Concerned Badger, see, this is maybe the disrespect. We'll see if Sinja takes this fight or not. There's 1.5 minutes on that Baron, so a kill here wouldn't guarantee that objective for the side of XSV. Might want to save that Ignite for when that fight does happen up on the top side of the map. But for now, these few minutes are an opportunity for Syndicate Solo Pickle to recuperate a little bit of resources, try to hit, you know, the best spike they can before this fight, because I do worry for them that if XSV gets this Baron, they will be able to end the game off it. They haven't broken the base yet, but I think they're strong enough to do it if they have that buff and can, you know, start dealing with this Sivir's Wave Clear using those empowered minions.
And Olaf, the Pickle, trying to run away, has to use the ult aggressively and is able to do so with great effect. But Ragnarok is starting to leave, and oh my goodness, a gift given from the heavens. Great engage, but the shielding power of Seraphine is too much to deal with. An attempt pick goes wrong. With 24 seconds left, this Baron is all but guaranteed, and they can just even keep pushing down. But speaking of push, look at mid.
There is a nice push from Syndicate Solo Pickle in the mid that XSV will have to respond to. Akali doesn't have much wave clear, so unless you can just take that 1v3, which, let's be honest, I think Syndra might be able to, then they do, you know, as Syndicate Solo Pickle is able to get a decent amount of gold, and XSV haven't started the Baron yet because it only just spawned.
The Hawk Shot gives good amount of vision. Great coordinated team effort to escape, but the inhib will still go down. Great, honestly, great positioning by Syndicate Solo Pickle. They're able to just cut a little bit of a distraction, because it could have been worse. Baron could have been gone, and the inhib could have also gone down, but hold up. Caught off guard Koopa, great shutdown, and that's a good amount of cash in the jungler's hands, and all of a sudden, the Baron call might have to be delayed even more now.
Sinja is down on the bottom side, forcing a response with that amount of AP he has. He chunks those towers out so quickly, but here comes Solo Mason.
Oh no, it landed on your carry. The flash away, and the second part of the execution not gonna land. Shut down. That is so much gold. It's on the Olaf. You would really like it on someone else, but it still makes Olaf even scarier. We gotta be careful about throwing away leads like that, because that's still gold, and a miracle can still be performed, and Elder is up!
That's 2 dead on the side of XSV with these 2 major objectives up. It looks like they are going to maybe send their 3 remaining members to the top side to try to threaten the Baron, but Pickle is marking them. And so that is going to be, I think, the Elder reclaimed by Syndicate Solo Pickle. Just when I was starting to count them out, they make a great macro play in the mid lane to force XSV's hand while they have a player advantage, and then Sinja goes too deep onto the Sivir, who has the spell shield, has the Melio, has the rest of the team there. So, you know, XSV not in a position to capitalize on that aggression from Sinja, and now they've got to worry about the Elder.
Respect goes both ways, doesn't it? Isn't that a great lesson we all learned?
It does. I mean, you can see with this build Sinja has, he does not have a single piece of defensive itemization. And the thing about being ahead is a lot of times you want to use your lead to build defensive so that you can't give over those kills and start throwing the game away, because frankly, I think 3 offensive items would be enough for this Akali to kill pretty much anyone on the opposing team. Something like a Zanya's would probably go a long way in making sure you can't give over a kill, because there's a lot of AD damage on the side of Syndicate solo Pickle. So, if this trend continues, he might have to sell that Mejai's and pick something else up. The question here now is whether Syndicate solo Pickle can convert this Elder buff into the Baron. I feel like they should be able to, but they haven't started it up yet, and Solo Mason's actually in a bit of a tricky spot here.
Oh, and Seraphine gets the Encore stolen away. That's a huge ult to be holding on to. And this is this is really hard for a team like Syndicate solo Pickle. They're trying to balance in using Elder Dragon, but also not being way too hardy to force something.
They don't have a lot of ranged poke users they can really capitalize on the Elder with. That is one of its greatest strengths, is if you can apply the buff from range and chip your opponents down before taking the fight. In a fight, where people are getting hard to engage on and getting bursted, the DPS from the Elder doesn't actually do that much unless you can get someone to that execution threshold. And with the Chemtech Soul, that's a little harder to do on the side of XSV. So a fight with Elder, if it's just an all-out brawl from full HP, I think is still losable even with that buff. Now, Syndicate has closed the gold lead to just about 2,500. But yeah, the Elder, not long for this world here. Only 25 seconds left on it, and I think that means it's going to essentially just be a denial from the side of Syndicate solo Pickle and nothing else playing. Hold on.
Here it comes, an opportunity to use Elder, and as well as the Ignite ticking down. That's going to be Sinja picking up another kill yet again. But speaking of that one, they might be going for a little bit of a consolation prize support. Being able to get that chase down. Great stuff on the Stand United. It does get that damage down. A TP used by Silas in order to try to stop it, but it might just lead to the demise of the team. They're realizing Silas isn't here. The buff is gone, and they're going to go ahead and just advance forward. Nice juke back by Phenomenal, but it's only going to delay your death for a little bit longer. They're realizing now that their time is nigh. A double kill might be leading to the execution of their base as Solo Mason, staying true to the name, being all alone against an entire team. I think this is gonna be it.
They're not even gonna need the Baron. It's just hesitation from Syndicate solo Pickle into a bit of an overforced play right as the Elder's about to wear off that gives XSV the win in this first game here.
Yeah, you can try. Had the stats a little bit.
Wait.
Oh, Olaf. Olaf. Oh, wow, switched up targets. Hold on. This is a lot of scrap power, but it's, to me, this is just, the patented numbers. That Ragnarok is going to be gone real soon. Here comes the burst damage. Shutdown is going to go ahead and get, but an ace, a cleanup. They went down swinging, but game number 1 goes in the favor of XSV. I can't believe it. They did it.
They did pull it off. I mean, it started off very back and forth from both of these teams. Syndicate was putting up a good fight in the early game. The mid game was all XSV greed. And then just when it looked like Syndicate solo Pickle was maybe going to claw things back from the brink of defeat, the Elder goes nowhere, and XSV greed just run that final fight into a pretty clean victory overall. Again, a few moments of faltering, but I think the biggest lessons from this game are, respect, and maybe don't give Sinja Akali. I mean, it's fearless, so they don't have to worry about that next game. But yeah, it's the big middle finger from Sinja in game number 1.
I think that's like the perfect way to demonstrate like how that game felt, right? It's just a giant middle finger that's sticking out, and as well as a little bit of the Wi-Fi bar for Sentinel Pickle on the damage chart. But oh my goodness, the beginning, it looked messy. I like the level 1 attempt, but because of that, I felt like it just threw the tempo off for everyone.
I mean, Silas was late to lane, took a bad chunk because of it, and then had to come back well, he should have gone back and come back, but instead gets solo killed. And then, from there, it just felt like Concerned Badger could not exert his influence in this game. I think if he's on even footing with the Akali, that's a matchup that is a very skill based, but yeah, just the level one, putting yourself on the back foot from that get go. Yes, it helped the bot lane, but the amount of priority that Ashe Seraphine generates is just so good that even with that disastrous level one, they were easily able to claw their way back in, because it's not like Silvermelio is, diving you on level 3 or something. They're kind of on a similar thing of just wanting to farm up and scale. And so even though they get the nice little bot lane lead, it ends up being all mid lane, all game.
Your average solo queue game right there. Doesn't matter how well the other lanes go. That mid lane is being able to get it down. Sinja, I think was really well played. There are times definitely where I'm like, where's the Zhonya's? Like, we really want to see the Zhonya's, because you're just going to be able to just provide even more powder, delay, and stall. But the full damage build, people pop like balloons. Like you said earlier, maybe just 3 damage on us. We can, this is the greed. This is greed that the Bible talks about. We got to be careful about continuing to try to get that damage.
Yeah, it is pretty apt to see a build like that, but the lead was big enough that in the end it all works out. I mean, Sinja was up, I think, 4 levels over Concerned Badger at times. The only reason he wasn't more is because level 18, that's the limit unless you're up top.
It's the mercy rule, but still. Fantastic showing, and keep in mind, Excessive Greed is coming as not the favorites. They barely able to slip in, but it seemed like that was a very, very way to deliver a message. I'm hoping to see something from Side Solo Pickle about, being able to reciprocate from that loss, because I'm going to be real, that was a very tough loss to take.
It was a very tough loss, but there were good showings from, the Pickle 69 in particular. I think if they're able to get him on a good matchup in game number 2 and maybe play a little more around him instead of trying to bail out the parts of the map that are far behind, they might be able to, extend that lead and, play around top lane as a win condition. Because at least in this first game, it seemed like that was a potentially a viable option for them.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and take it to a tiny little break as we move on to game number 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Oh, respect has been the word so far of this series. Seeding means nothing if you're able to maintain and grow. I am Wolfie Scratch, and I'm joined by Freedom Potatoes. Freedom Potatoes, as we saw in the previous game, respect is a huge part, but as well as the lower seed, making this seem like the upset is just a no factor. We need to see some improvements on the Pickle side.
I agree. I mean, it's, XSV coming in as a lower seed, as you mentioned, but we know they can be quite a wild card. And I think a huge catalyst for that wild card energy is Sinja, who is so proficient on these assassin type champions. But the thing with assassins is they're very feast or famine. So if you can either get him off of those comfort picks or play something that can shut it down very effectively, I think that's going to put Syndicate Solo Pickle in a much better spot if they can, control the tempo going into the mid game, play the game a little more controlled the way they wanted to instead of constantly being on the back foot from all this aggression coming out of mid lane. Then I think Syndicate's got a pretty good chance. But yeah, they need to find a way to shut down Sinja.
The mid game as well, the mid laner, I think is a better way of putting it. It just sprouted out of control. It got ugly really fast. Like the beginning portion, like they tried to attempt to cheese at the bottom side. And I was like, oh, that's great. Salas has to TP. That's not so good. And then all of a sudden, the solo kill happened. And sure, they were able to get a kill back with a jungle gank, but then Sinja just kept moving forward and just kept dominating that lane. That's the confidence. But the thing is that confidence can only be backed up by those damage numbers. We need to see the control on this mid.
We are going to need to see, control, whether that's, something that's like a tank counter, like a Galio can work into those assassins, or again, just respect the player, ban his pool. I think that works too. And so it is going to be Syndicate Solo Pickle sticking on the red side here. And so far that Orianna ban from game number 1 is sticking around. I mean, it worked for them last time. I don't really see a major reason for the side of XSV to change anything up, but I am looking for change ups from Syndicate. So far though, it's going to be Corki as the first ban for them.
It looks like the bans for excessive is just the same. The same Orianna, the same Jarvan. Would not be surprised to see another like AoE character that's easy to play. Like Malphite was the last one.
Malphite was the last one. We'll see if they keep that around. Oh, they switch it up with the Victor ban. I mean, they might want the Malphite for themselves. That is a champion that can blow up the mid game with that ultimate. I mean, it's an unstoppable, decently long range, hard engage tool, and so it's gonna force Syndicate Solo Pickle to ban it away instead. And I'm not seeing any mid lane bans.
We'll see. Instead, they might try to give the last pick over. That's like another factor because you can definitely get like a more favorable matchup. And Varus being selected. Most likely for the 80k rule, I've seen some criminal Varuses in top lane to the much of the displeasure of everyone on Summoner's Rift. We're also going to see another great selection on the other side.
Yeah, Yunara, in competitive play, I think scales really, really well. This was a point I saw from a pro player earlier this week, was like in solo queue, she has a pretty good like early spike on one item, but kind of struggles when you have the chaos of the solo queue environment. But in coordinated play, especially when you've got something like a Lulu in your pocket, then you can really run these team fights with the DPS that champion can pump out.
Oh, and Nalus as well. No double enchanter this time. It's going to be a fight with all the CC potential that Nalus has, as well as Varus. Both of them being able to get the lockdown. And Ornn selected. The Ornn horn blares, and the call of the Forge God will be answered. Gives some scaling power as well because of that itemizations. I wonder what seed it is. It's going to be Kale.
Kale? Whoa. That is a spicy pick. But is a great answer into the Ornn in the sense that when late game rolls around, you can DPS through him no matter how tanky he gets, really. But Ornn can still win that matchup in the early phases. He has a lot of base damage and has a lot of crowd control. And I mean, really, XSV's whole team so far is stacked with crowd control. You've got the Chains of Corruption, you've got multiple forms of hard CC on the Nautilus and the Ornn, and that's something that I think Syndicate Solo Pickle needs to pick up. They only really have the Polymorph as a crowd control tool for themselves.
And actually, it feels like excessive. They listened. They're like, all right, Galio could be a problem for our nice little carry mid laner.
Yeah, and Anivia. Those are two. I'm a mid laner. Those are two of my go-to anti-assassin picks, because if someone gets on top of you as Anivia, free stun, you can wall them, you can space with your ult. A lot of tools in her kit, and Galio just gets really tanky and is hard to kill. But it is going to be the Amumu picked up for Syndicate Solo Pickle, and that does mean they are probably saving mid lane for the last pick here. Now it's going to be another very tanky champion picked up in the form of Dr. Mundo for XSVG. and the Ari to round out their comp, another kind of assassin pick that can once again explode the mid game.
I like the Ari pick. It's like good enough to be a blind in this scenario because that was like the big thing. And Lysandra is actually going to be the final one. This is like an old matchup. It took me back like a couple, like maybe 6 seasons ago, seeing this matchup once again. But oh my goodness, XSV have a beefy front line.
They've got a beefy front line. They've got Ari who can chain those resets together if she can follow up on that CC. If the Varus, he has the option of going lethality or on hit. I think lethality is probably going to be the play because Syndicate does not have a lot of front line here for him to hit if he goes on hit. And so that poke is going to get so much value. But yeah, if they can get those health bars low, follow up with an engage from really anyone on the team, and then start chaining those resets together, I think XSV is going to run these fights. Syndicate, very indexed into scaling, but they do have some engage options with the Lysandra and Amumu. If Ari's dashing in ahead of her frontliners, she could get shut down. That could give the fight back to Syndicate. So there are options for Syndicate, but I also do feel like a lot of people don't play Lysandra that much. They use it as a counter pick in competitive play, and it can go wrong if it's not something that you're really truly practiced on in the solo queue and the scrims. So I am curious to see how that ends up going for them.
Yeah, because like the only real time you'll see Lysandra is in A round when they got Snowball, so they can just Snowball and then E.
I did have to check to see the stats, and it turns out Concerned Badger does have 4 games on Lysandra this season with a 100% win rate. So that is not one of those BS. Oh, I picked it because my stat site says it's good. Like, he actually plays this champion and has a proven record on it. So that might be exactly what Syndicate need this game to shut Sinja down and put Concerned Badger in a winning position.
Yeah, this isn't the World incident where someone had to select Mundo for the first time and then having to look up the ability names and dodges the cheese attempt from the enemy expecting to invade because the Mundo was in the bush reading the abilities.
Yeah, I'm sure Will Show Them All has played Mundo, but the stat site also does not say that he's played it so far in this season. But it's Mundo. You just, well, I guess he's jungle, so you don't just push, but you get tanky and you go where you please. But he in serious, Mundo does take I think a decent amount of skill to pilot through the early game. And when you don't have those items, once you have some items in, he kind of plays himself, but before then, if you get put on the back foot, you're not actually that tanky.
And in all honesty, we're talking about all these picks. It's Kale is the one that's kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. A very great hyper carry with a lot going off, but that's the thing. There's a giant asterisk next to Kale in the carry department, and that's something I'm personally worried about.
It's a question of if Kale can make it to the late game, because we saw last time around, well, we did see that Pickle was, very proficient in his top lane matchup last time around. This time, I think he is going to be on the back foot in the early game, but if he can still, show that same level of proficiency and kind of being the weak side player and getting to that late game, then I think he's going to be in a great spot. He doesn't have a ton of frontline for him, so I do worry that he might have to be using the divine intervention, to help out someone else on his team when he'd really rather save it for, like just save them from a Nautilus hook or some other form of engage and maybe not get the optimal value out of it. But we'll see. We'll see if Fiendish Feller is, going to be eating the hooks for his team or if people are going to be getting caught.
Lots of ifs, but you got to read the fine lining, the fine text. I'm hoping to see a great little fight, and both teams were actually fighting to make sure to get that early wards in the jungle. Both of them want to really make sure to keep an eye on it, as junglers are starting topside for both of them, so they'll be able to meet up, because as everyone should know at this point, and much to my displeasure, Crab has a huge focus and a hook. Early one just lands, but I'm not expecting too much damage because you've got to be careful.
And it is, I am actually noticing this is a lethal tempo Varus that Koopa has gone for. Very good in the extended trades, can be useful, but I still think the lethality might have been the move here with how short range Syndicate solo Pickle's team is and the somewhat limited engage options they have. It's really all Lysandra Amumu. If those champions are not hitting their skill shots, if Lysandra doesn't feel confident taking that E into the middle of the enemy team, then Varus can kind of do his thing from the backlines. But getting in close range is scary. Oh, speaking of scary, that Nautilus had very nearly landing.
Yeah, able to flash away, and here it comes. Potato, you talked about this earlier. Ornn, you know, usually not being seen as the big powerhouse at the start, can be able to fight back against KO, who does not have that range yet at all. And keep in mind, we always talk about Sinja being the assassin. Ahri can play that part, but both mid laners opting to go for TP, which is something that I completely agree with. The Ignite will be able to be a little bit more pressure, but you just really make sure that the waves are stable.
Yeah, you need to have the waves stable, and you need to be able to join up those fights. I think both Ahri and Lissandra are champions that get a lot of value by TPing into a fight, whether it's in the middle, finding a flank, whatever it is. Ooh. Pickle getting traded on very heavily, but the turret shot is going to deter Smoke from pursuing any further. Still, that kill might have to take a reset real soon. And Jellybean Jeff fishing for the hook. Could be scary if Solo Mason gets hit by that as well.
And also, doesn't that show the clear speed? Mundo was done and took the crab. And poor
yeah,
Mundo
what's a Mumu up to? He's quite behind the curve here.
Looking for some friends, but I ain't gonna find anything as Mundo oh, that's gotta be brutal. Double crab? Oh, yikes.
And there's just no priority from Syndicate Solo Pickle's bot lane. This Nautilus is just buying time, but I think that actually it's not too bad for Syndicate. It does mean the resets will be desynced, but Phenomenal might be able to kind of help hold this wave, make sure that Solo Mason gets a little bit more gold out of it. Let's see if he gets punished for walking up to hold that. He is going to pull the cannon minion out of turret range, and that's actually going to be a pretty nice wave state for Syndicate Solo Pickle, but that does also mean that Nautilus has a roam timer towards mid here.
Oh, and a scrap in the top side. Bandage toss does land, but it's not going to be the one that you would like. Great hook. Is the CC long enough? It is! It's perfect amount! You're not able to escape first blood! For Sinja, the CC timer was just perfect. Concerned Badger's got to be kicking themselves right now.
Yeah, and there's no TP on that Lissandra either. Did just recently use it, so he's going right back to the fountain, and only able to pick up a little bit of mana and that glowing emote, while Sinja on that Ahri might be able to finish Lost Chapter, which is a much nicer reset here. And yeah, great punish by Jellybean Jeff on the bot lane side. That's I think actually like a pretty high level thing to do is when you see the enemy support holding the wave like that, you know they're committing a good chunk of their time to not only hold the wave but then reset and walk back to lane. So instead of taking his own reset, the Nautilus just goes mid and pulls off a great CC chain to give first blood to XSV.
And I hate sounding critical, but I felt like the gank shouldn't have happened in the first place. Concerned Badger had the ward in the top side bush. You're just supposed to, stay in the top side area where it is warded, so you know that the risk, that you can just enable to get away. But I think Sinja did such a good job pressuring from the left side of the lane. Concerned Badger, was just like, oh, I need to avoid skill shots, and path downwards right into the waiting arms of that support. So still a great play by both ends. Solo Mason taking a good amount of damage. Dragon is up. But look at that, as you said earlier, has Lost Chapter and a boot.
And even though Amumu is here in the bottom lane, we'll show them all is close by. That Vision Cone not going to see the Amumu, but still, I don't think it's a winning fight if Syndicate Solo Pickle chooses to take it. They are down about 1,000 gold, all in all across the board. Most of that probably just from that first blood. And here's a hook.
Big hook. Good amounts of damage, and just back away before the carry's able to get a damage. Oh my god. That arrow lands true. Piercing arrow, able to pierce through the HP. This dragon is up, and look at all these members of Excessive Greed. They're going to go ahead and maintain control of that dragon. That should just be free. Syndicate Pickle. This is... Sign Solo Pickle, this is bad. This is another struggling early game.
Syndicate Solo Pickle in a pickle, as XSV is going to pick up this first Drake. They've just got the Mundo hitting that. In the early game, I think this Mundo pick gets so much value into the Amumu because he can just evade the bandage toss with his own passive, that canister. You know, he just, yeah, immunes the first CC and can fight back pretty well into the Amumu. So yeah, I like this Dr. Mundo pickup for the side of XSV. He's already made it to level 6 and is closing in on his first item without any real punish coming through. And I mean, really a pretty big lead in the jungle.
And as well as walking up for a ward. So that Amumu is going to go ahead and continue to be tracked. A little bit of CS on Ornn. Can stop the back and will do. Pickle having to back away. Has a blasting wand to work with, but so far, last time it was the mid show and as well as top lane on the other side.
Mason hit
but
6.
Right now, we gotta really be careful of this bot lane pressure. Nautilus is just stepping up fearlessly, but misses the hook. You gotta back up.
Koopa also misses the piercing arrow. That is a window for Solo Mason to trade back, but looks like they're just gonna clear the wave out and back off for now.
Oh, what a read on the movement. Has it ready to go. Summoner heal and flash utilized. Here comes the cleanse. Great timer on that one. This could potentially be a 1v2, but an excellent delay. The ult was ready to go, and level 6 is all but guarantees your doom. Nautilus and Varus. A very scary combination, and they easily sweep up that fight.
Those two champions can set up each other so nicely, and it's a 2-4 nothing down in the bottom lane. Koopa getting into a scary spot already. It's yeah, that's a nice insurance policy for the side of XSV to have that Varus already closing in on his first item here. And another thing I wanted to touch on, you know, draft-wise, build-wise, is that Syndicate Solo Pickle has a triple AP topside. The Lulu also, you know, not a damage threat, but does AP. And Yunara also does a decent amount of AP damage. Now, they do have a ton of DPS, so I don't know, you know, if they care too much about that. Like, even with all the AP damage they have, Kayle still melts through tanks in the late game. But I think it does mean that XSV is going to be able to stack up that MR a little more easily, and it's going to make Amumu and Lissandra's job in particular a lot harder. I think they're going to be playing for utility more than for, you know, dealing damage, which is kind of typically why you pick those champions anyway. But it's nice to be a threat in your own right, and I think that's going to be a lot harder for them with how these team compositions have been constructed.
As well as the results. The Yunara is not ahead, and here comes the Curse of the Sadabanabi. Another CC chain, plenty of damage, but the burst time is over. You need that consistency. Fiendish Feller is going to go ahead and pay dearly with their life. Concerned Badger eats a piercing arrow. Solo Mason trying to get that damage department, but your Destiny Tube. An excellent flash by Sinja. The Charm is able to connect, cutting off that damage early. Here comes the depth charge, trying to shut it down, is able to get away with tail tucked between the leg. That is gotta suck.
XSV showing they did not come to mess around today. They are up 6-0 in this early game, and it's this null magic mantle for Sinja getting a lot of value here as he gets engaged on. You can see he eats 2 ults and lives on just a sliver of HP, and I think that might be just enough health from that little item that, you know, because of the triple AP topside, he's getting to buy that. And then once Amumu goes in, he doesn't have a way out. Concerned Badger does, but he gets counter engaged on. And then the rest of the team for Syndicate Solo Pickle tries to show up and make something happen, but those resets on the Ahri ult are just too much to deal with. And so it's once again a really big fight going the way of XSV Greed in the early game here.
And speaking of fight, Smoke was just able to escape that gank. Had to burn the flash to stay alive, but will not be giving over the first kill that Syndicate Solo Pickle is desperately looking for to try to change up that tempo. That was a great combo, but the problem is there's no damage to follow that one up. And I said burst timer because that's it. That's all the burst damage they got. The consistent damage is lacking because there's no Yunara at that moment, and they paid dearly.
Hey, dearly they do, and there are 30 seconds until this next Drake is up. There are some ultimates available on the side of Syndicate Solo Pickle, but XSVs are coming up as well. I don't think Syndicate's going to want to contest that. It would make sense for them to try to maybe find a cross-map play, but Amumu's down here on the bottom side of the map, getting invaded by Mundo. You can see in the corner of your screen there. I think he was able to secure his own Gromp, but it's still going to be a difficult position for Syndicate to play. Ahri kind of late to the punch, but oh, there's the engage.
Yeah. Goodbye. Plenty of damage. Great stall on the CC. Cleanses the wrong thing at the wrong time. But that's so much. Amumu is gone, but here comes Yunara. Great flash forward to escape the hook, but depth charge is still ready to go. You cannot escape from that with shutdown gold. That's going to be quite a lot, but Yunara is on borrowed time. Yunara is still just trying to hit and get that damage down. Maybe looking for a second kill. Gets it as well. 2 kills in the board and a shutdown. You'll take it, honestly.
It is going to be a 2 for 2, and 2 kills onto Mundo is just going to accelerate him towards that unkillable status even quicker. But hold on, another fight mid.
Another fight. Has to self-ult. Sinja still has another ult charge ready to go, and that delay on the auto attack actually might lead to Conserve.
Oh
down.
no.
Oh no, Conserve. Potato, that's gotta suck. Call the Forge God is on there. Fade it to curtains. Fade to curtains. Let's just make sure that this Kale does not go down. But this, another fight so early in the bot lane?
Yeah, it's, so you can see here, I mean, it's the Chains of Corruption to start things up, and the CC combo that follows is just deadly. There is a nice bit of damage that comes back onto Koopa, though, and so even though Syndicate kind of back off here, XSV feels like they have the dragon under control, and Solo Mason sees that opportunity, flashes the hook really nicely, and even through the exhaust is able to get that first kill. And with the focus fire onto Jellybean Jeff, another kill. So that's 2 shutdowns for this Yunara, who was in a pretty bad state gold-wise, but you know, needs to be the carry for Syndicate Solo Pickle, and with those kills is going to maybe be in a position to pick up the slack, because they desperately need that this game.
Yeah, and this was rough, right? Like, Charm missed, you self-ult to try to preserve, and Concerned Badger's like, I need to escape, does use it, but that...
that might be like a, you know, locked cam diff, honestly. If you're just spamming right click and then the vision cone pops up out of nowhere, yeah, get surprise auto there. Ooh, that's so we didn't get to see that before because of the transition screen, but it's a nice flash from the Pickle 69 to dodge that Call of Forge God. Still does have to blow the flash. Ooh. And yeah, it's you know, well, we'll get. I am curious to check in on the state of top lane. So Kale is even in CS. Has not died. That is a pretty good space to be in for the top laner of Syndicate. That is another kind of ace in the hole they have, is if this Kale can make it to the late game, she can be the X factor in these fights. But so far, XSV Greed up 4,000 gold at 14 minutes is a really nice spot to be in. Oh.
From how stupid that Nolus hook is, I'm surprised that didn't land. And just trying to escape. Bandage toss is going to go ahead and be thrown out. Gets rid of the little CC shield, the passive that Dr. Mundo goes where he pleases. Just not for now, but here comes another hook. Depth charge used as well. Trying to lock it down instantly. You just have to go ahead and use the Frozen Tomb on yourself to try to go ahead and survive. Try to use the bandage toss to get yourself out, but there's no point. Out flash burned! Trying to survive, but there's no chance. Poor Amumu will be going down after burning everything.
Amumu burns everything to try to get out, and I think it's just more valuable if you hold onto those summoners, hold onto that ult, and try to make something happen. Again, maybe look for top. If bot lane is not going well, I think this Amumu can just try to get Pickle ahead, because that is a win condition Syndicate has available. And speaking of, slow from the volcanic rupture is going to stall things out. Now another fight bot.
Oh, and here comes the Solo Mason, staying true to the name, looking for the solo kill. Excellent flash. Being able to land that briefcase and able to shut that one down will show them all. Shows up clutch in order to protect their 80 carry. Greedy plays like that come out of desperation, but desperation means you're behind, and behind is correct because there's no damage or gold to follow.
It is 2 flashes burned by the side of XSV, which is a, you know, nice little bit of compensation for Solo Mason, who did just blow the cleanse and his ultimate. But Syndicate's going to need to capitalize on those blown summoners, and mostly on Koopa. I don't think you can punish a flashless Mundo per se when he is this strong. But Varus, you might be able to get on top of him and look for a kill. It's just, there's, you know, maybe this next dragon can be an opportunity to look for that, but it is getting really hard for Syndicate to play this game here.
And it just might keep getting worse. That's a 5-0 Mundo, by the way. going where he pleases is correct. He will not be stopped. And as well, just keep in mind, the gold is kind of stacking up. Concerned Badger is slowly starting to get there. Has to try to escape. Doesn't matter who Sinja's playing, huh? We'll just keep going for these 1v1s knowing that they're stronger. And that's a lot of burst damage, and the consistency power that Concerned Badger has is all for naught. But this Kale, we talked about it earlier, as long as you get past the early game, it starts to get a little bit rough. But Concerned Badger, great stuff on early stopping it, but just can't close it out. The kill does go over to the support, however, but these desperate 1v1s, these desperate plays are starting to reel their ugly head, while the Pickle is just kind of nice and thriving in the top lane.
And for how behind Concerned Badger is, that was a shockingly close fight. I mean, that was a 0-3 Lissandra against a 3-0 at the time, Ari. And he needs the Nautilus and his, as backup to guarantee the kill. I think it, is at least close to Concerned Badger getting the solo in spite of everything, which does show the value of this Ari, or this Lissandra as a counter pick. Hold on, Smoke has maybe gone a little deep here as the bot lane is showing up for SSB.
And this might be...
Oh, he's teleporting out. He sees them on the ward.
Get him out, and they get the dragon as a reward. Sure, you can go ahead and take everything topside. That's the compensation. And if you're Sign Solo Pickle, you're happy to get a little bit of this done, but a lot of pings going down for excessive greed. I think they want to go ahead and try to stop this, and here it comes. Here comes the fight. It's going to happen real soon. As the cheese corruption, they miss, however. That's a big cooldown, and a lot of CC placed on a character who can just bypass it. Gonna go down hella early. 2 kills for nothing. We gotta be careful.
And I think that's a play where you've just got to acknowledge, like, okay, we got the objective bounty. Fiendish Feller, I'm sorry, but you are dying. Instead, Phenomenal sticks around, gives over his life as well when he really did not need to. With the amount of pressure that XSV had rushing in there, I think that was a guaranteed dead Amumu. And so no turret taken on the top side either. I thought the Pickle was maybe going to get that, which, 2 objective bounties for Syndicate would have been really nice. They do, I think, get 1 bot here, but at the end of it, it's 2 turrets over to the side of XSV, as well as that soul point in exchange for the Rift Herald, and soon to be 1 tower to Syndicate. So all in all, not too bad considering the game state, but XSV is still continuing to... Oh, speaking of blowing up.
Oh, just trying to get away. And look, Pickle, you're strong with this Kale. You've reached the level 11 marker and past that, but you're only sitting on 1 full item against a team who is hella stacked with cash.
And earlier you were saying, it doesn't matter who Sinja is on, and while I agree with you, it seems like he is very proficient on a lot of things. Syndicate has given over his 2 most played champs of all time in Titan in these first 2 games, with how much of a powerhouse he is in the mid lane, just seems like a disastrous prospect. Again, I think, the game's certainly not over, but with 15 kills to 2 and a 6,000 gold lead, I would, begin to start thinking about adaptations for the next game as Syndicate Solo Pickle, because their backs are kind of up against the wall here in this game and in this series.
And with Baron ready to go, and attack speed, Varus was the one. Now we're starting to see, they're going to go ahead and try to take this vision out there. They're hitting despair, and they are daring Sign Solo Pickle to step up.
Jellybean Jeff over the wall. Fiendish Feller is going to drop the Rift Herald in the Baron pit, and that is actually going to work to scare XSV off. I don't know why. Oh, Concerned Badger, though.
Yeah. Well, at least Baron had a friend temporarily for a little bit, on a little bit of a play date, because they can't spawn at the same time, so Baron was, very charmed to see another monster from the same pit that resided in. But burning quite a little bit, they're not gonna let the Baron go, for say, as the dragon timer still around a minute and 50 seconds and going down. So we'll have to see how the vision game is set up. I'm just still terrified of a team fight, because that's where you can see a clutch factor maybe coming through, but there's so much damage on the end of excessive greed. It just might be enough. It doesn't matter how good of a jumping power, how good of a pounce that Sign Solo Pickle get. They might not have enough damage to even follow it up.
They're going to need a lot of focus fire onto a squishy member. The only real targets I see are Sinja and Koopa, but even Sinja has those empowered Merc Treads, and you can see Koopa's also got the Negatron Cloak. So neither of these are really easy picks to make happen. The Flash is back up on the Varus from earlier, and now Fiendish Feller's getting invaded. But he has that black... Oh, wait, what? Oh, okay. a little spectator bug there. I thought the plant just hated him or something.
Yeah. Chrono break. Being able to get. Imagine being like so cursed to not have friends that even the plant refuses to help.
Even the plants hate him, and XSV are just going to march things up mid. They're not going to look for the Baron. They are just playing for lane priority into that Dragon Soul here, and I think that is the right call. Ooh, hold on. Here comes Call the Forge God.
It's finds one, but it just felt like that Ornn was just tooting his own horn for his pleasure. Being able to go ahead and get the knock up. The dragon is coming up, and they're able to stop the back in time. Great dash. Has to burn that one, so that's a very early cooldown at least for a compensation. But with Dragon Soul on the line and no vision, it's hella dark, but it looks like we'll miss. Hold in there! Holy, that is a huge ult! And being able to pump out that damage, here comes Yunara. Gets CC'd up! No chance, has to flash, try to get away, but Manuka where he pleases. No damage in that department. Lots of attempts coming in, and here comes Kale. Here comes the Pickle 69 trying to find Subway, but the charm lands. Has the ult ready to go. Has it as the divine judgment, but is found guilty of greed. Able to find one. That's what I was worried about. A huge wombo combo, but nothing to follow it up.
That is the dream Amumu ult there, even though he's the one getting engaged on. Fiendish Feller tries to turn it around, but he just can't do it. And the damage profile for Syndicate Solo Pickle, frankly, is just putting them at such a deficit in these fights because the gold that XSV has is so much more effective, and they also have so much more of it. And with the acquisition of the Infernal Soul, they are going to be doing a whole lot more damage as well.
And what's rough about that one too is that the masterwork items as well, Ornn has spread it to not only himself, but gave it to the mid and as well as the AD carry, even more damage injections from where you're like, okay, we just need to reach late game in order to try to get something started for our Kale. But then Ornn is able to consider that and say like, yeah, well, I can give items to my entire team. They're gonna go ahead and hit this Baron fearlessly because they know exactly what happened last time. Are we gonna see an attempt to fight?
I mean, I feel like Syndicate has to do something, but what can they do when they are down so much? Here goes it.
Oh my god. A boo-boo. Hello, my friend. Get the smite! Run! You have to run! You have to try to get away! Your compensation prize is survival. You're able to keep it on there. You're able to maintain. You just have to go for it. A miracle steal. A little bit of a miscommunication, honestly, from the team. They were just like, do we have to burst this Baron down, or do we just go ahead and finish the job? The recalls are coming in. They're gonna have to try to get it. He's holding onto it, but can't find it, can't finish it. That's gonna be another Yunara down, but the damage is coming in. A shutdown gold. That's the worst member you can honestly give it to besides Yunara. I cannot believe that steal happened.
The steal comes through, but there are several members dead on the side of Syndicate Solo Pickle. The chase from XSV is still very potent off the back of Sinja's Ahri. But it is going to give Syndicate another lease on life as they deny the Baron. I don't know if they'll be able to get much done with that pushing power, but they are going to be able to hold on to some of these turrets and you know, potentially the game for a little bit longer.
Who hit this plant? Right, I gotta see this.
I gotta see this, yeah.
So gets a little scrappy. They have a little bit of vision. Great hook. Oh.
Nautilus hit it, I think.
1,389 or 90 something. The smite was coming down. That you could not have asked for a more perfect place.
It looked like the smite the DPS was trying to be held by XSV, but the Baron was already low enough that any stray skill shots, even just a little bit of damage from the Amumu, was enough to put it in that smite range. You can see here on the chase through, there's a lot of damage coming out of the Pickle. He is able to pick up the Ornn, but the other members on the side of XSV are still mobile enough, still fast enough to just walk out of there. And so it's but it does buy time for this Kale and the Yunara to come online. If Kale can scale then there is hope for Syndicate Solo Pickle, no matter how far down they are. Because even with that objective bounty off the back of the Baron, they are down about 6,000 gold and a nice hook comes through.
Oh, and has to burn that. Concerned Badger not having the ability of Frozen Tomb available might be a little rough. It's such good extra sustain, could be an extra CC, an extra peel. But all of a sudden, keep in mind, we talked about Kale scaling is past level 16. She has transcended. She is past a rising. She is past not just being a flame. She is transcended on and has Blade of the Ruin King added to her collection of items. She will start to shred, but the problem is that sustained fire needs to be maintained, and the CC that is being able to be pumped out by excessive greed, you really have to be careful about being landed. But once all those bursts are gone, we'll have to see.
Yeah, Fiendish Feller can tank up some of that CC, or if the Pickle can just put on some fancy footwork, does have those boots of swiftness and has access to his W ability to, dance around a little bit more in these fights. If he's not running straight at the enemy team and kind of, dancing in a circle around them, he can pump out this DPS, but it has to be a very fine dance for him to do that job, as XSV is trying to knock down these turrets, is trying to knock down the mid lane inhibitor. They haven't gotten too much yet, but that Baron buff that Syndicate had is gone now, and that is going to give the green light for XSV to get even more aggressive here.
This would have been nice to be Lethality Varus, huh? Just harass them from afar, make them choked out in their base. Still has a lot of damage to boot in that department, but this is the dance of death. This is where the crucial fight goes, and hold on, 2 big ults burned, but everyone survives, and the base is closer, so yeah, it looks like Excessive Greed has to back up and say like, hey, we tried to initiate, we tried to go ahead, but we cannot end the game just yet. Oh my goodness. Sign Solo Pickle is on a knife's edge, still alive, but look at the time in the top left.
45 seconds until the Elder Dragon spawns. 1 minute 40 till Baron. And those Chains of Corruption are down. The Frozen Tomb is also down, but those should be back up pretty quickly here with how far into the game we are. There's a Wit's End on that Varus now, by the way. Gonna make him so hard to take out. And the Kanook Rooker on Ornn. I mean, these items XSV has are just so much value into that AP heavy Syndicate team. But there is still a lot of DPS that can come through from those Blade of the Ruin King buys. There is, the Leandries can help get through those tanky members' health bars. And it looks like a fight around the mid lane might be the angle here.
Man, it's an open field. They know what's at stake. Lots of stuff to be considered as Elder spawns. They know that if this goes down right here, right now, they'll have no chance. They cannot be cooped up back in their base, but it's looking awfully dark and scary in this jungle. Look at the Elder. Can you find another steal? No, they're gonna go ahead and instantly turn. Oh my goodness, that's so much damage. They're just trying to get away. Here comes Solo Mason being able to get that damage. Here it comes, the carries! They only get so much of the smite! Mundo is able to get it! An excellent clutch!
Oh.
And then look at the birds! They're coming on down! Triple kill! Sinjo is able to get the quad as well! I cannot believe that we'll show them all indeed, Mundo! Wow!
Will it show them all? It shows them that, you should not try to finish Elder Dragon when the enemy jungler is just a few paces away. You can see here, Fiendish Feller gets a nice engage off at the start. Concerned Badger follows up in the backline, and the Ornhorn gets denied. And then with the Kale and the Yunara hitting these frontliners, they actually go down so quickly. It's a really good start to the fight for Syndicate Solo Pickle as the Divine Intervention, or the Divine Judgment, excuse me, comes through. But then they try to turn and DPS this Baron, and Will Show Them All has the Flash Smite, which is just an error in the calculations from Syndicate. And then Sinja with those remaining charges of the Spirit Rush, with the burn from the Elder and the Blackfire Torch, is able to finish off the fight. It's not enough to end the game. He is just one Ahri with, the lanes not pushed. But that is going to allow XSV to keep their foot on the gas in what looked like a near turnaround play from Syndicate.
Oh, flash. Just barely able to get missed out. And also, I think what was crazy there, Potato, was that flash by Sinja in order to get the pullback and not get burst down immediately. The second part of that Orb of Deception was just able to go ahead and get it cleaned up. TP goes down. I talked about how last time this was the final fight. Goodbye, Amumu. A party popper thrown out into, not celebration, I would say, but one of desperation. They're going to go ahead and clean these waves up. If somehow side solo Pickle is able to get something, there's a huge wave bot lane you can go off of, but this just looks doomed.
I've seen teams throw, game-ending fights into a kill before. It could happen again, but Syndra does have that Elder buff for a little bit longer on the Ahri, and that is going to make the fight that much harder to play. Still, the wave is thin. It is nearly gone. Engage.
They're able to get it. Polymorph, but this is a very, very split CC timer. It's not at all really chained together, but they're able to get one, and that tower is not coming back anytime soon. Yeah, they're afraid of a throw potentially coming in. Koopa slowed down. Charm finds its mark, but there's no follow-up. Yeah, they're just in full retreat mode, and honestly, I respect it. Why worry about potentially losing a game after getting all the resources handed to you on a silver platter by your jungler, by a flash smite, and then an excellent outplay by Sinja? Why throw it away when you can just slowly choke the enemy out? But the problem is, it's Kale.
Yeah, XSV is trying to slowly choke out the enemy, but SSP, they might be able to give themselves another breath of life here, as with every passing minute, Kale and Yunara are only becoming stronger in these fights, better able to deal with those frontliners. And so while it is good to be methodical and not overforce, XSV does have to feel in a sense like they are on a timer to close this game out before things get harder for them. Because you can see, even with the 5 versus 4, with the Baron buff and Elder still on one member, they aren't able to close out the game. So they are going to need to find a pick again. And if Baron runs out here, they are, it's just going to be another few minutes. Here's a fight again.
Yeah, they do so much burst damage, but Concerned Badger gets shredded! 4-man party, but there's no members who wanna go ahead and get involved. No party members want to be involved in that little fight. Lulu goes down as well. That's a 25 stack Medjai's Ahri, by the way. So instead of going with a huge kaboom, it's all the members kind of getting collapsed on. Here comes the attempt. Here comes the cleanse. Death Charge gonna go ahead and signify the celebration, because the real one is gonna be Excessive Greed being able to close it out.
XSV Greed uses the final few seconds of their Baron to mount a push in the top lane. And while we were talking about how they had to be careful not to throw into the enemy team, it's actually a Syndicate solo Pickle who get a little antsy, take an engage onto the enemy team when they are in a position to fight back. And, Sinja is just in such a strong spot that when there's the overstep from the Lissandra, the fight goes all the way in favor of XSV Greed, and they're able to take that to the Nexus.
It was on Mundo too, right?
Yeah,
that was like
it was an engage onto the Mundo under the tower with a very stacked minion wave. The tower wasn't even hitting him.
Yeah, so Mundo just kind of absorbed the damage, was fine with it the entire time, and the damage chart. This is why I expected. Kale was able to pump out so much DPS, but the problem is, that last fight was so unfortunate because it felt like if the AD carriers were also swinging with their huge items, with their huge damage, it could have been a different fight entirely. But because, unfortunately, Sign Solo Pickle got disconnected, they kind of went out with the whimper instead of a big kaboom that we were both hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, Fiendish Feller found the, bandage toss into a flash ultimate on 4, but there's no follow-up. The rest of the damage was in base. You need to be in a position there where XSV feels like they have to come into you. You don't want to be going into them. You don't want to be getting split like that, because you need to be frontlining for your carries. When both the Lissandra and the Amumu are down, you have no CC. You have no one who can eat those hooks, and that's just how that final fight played out. It ended up being the squishies versus the world. And, as strong as the Pickle was, he eventually just got exhausted, got chain CC'd, got taken out in pretty easy fashion. But at the end of the game, we did still see, again, some glimmers of hope for the side of Syndicate. They were able to let their carries scale up a little bit, but look at the scoreline for the rest of the team. I mean, that is pretty brutal. 0 kills across 3 members of their team, while Sinja goes deathless on Ari, and we'll show them all at, having only a single death on the Mundo. Syndicate needs to get a grip on these early games if they're going to be able to play this series out.
And that one death was becoming the martyr for your team, being able to flash secure the Elder Dragon and then letting Sinja being able to take the mantle and hoist the crown above the Ari's head. That to me was like the back was broken at that point. You're so close. You're able to turn this huge fight around. Kale and everyone was able to get that DPS, and then Mundo holding flash for the right moments. This is why it's really important. You got to finish your food. You got to finish what's in front of you, because if you don't, it's going to come back to bite you.
And they could have just sent Kale after the Mundo to DPS him down and zone him off. The Mundo cannot fight Kale there. If she is just running at him, he's not going to be able to make that same play. Maybe the Ahri looks for a steal with Spirit Rush, Orb of Deception. But I like those odds a whole lot better than getting flash smited on. So it is just a little bit of coordination, a little bit of, antsiness from, I think, feeling desperate the whole game and finally getting that big moment where you feel like you can win it. And then we'll show them all just turning it around in a flash.
That's going to be rough, because I think because of that shocking moment, remember, the Amumu got an insane steal out of nowhere on a smite. As production was able to show, the smite was at 1,386. That was like borderline, like, this is a very desperate, we really need to get the smite down right before I die. Amumu was able to get it. Most members were able to make it out there. Kale got like a 600 gold like injection from a shutdown afterwards, so it looked really good, but unfortunately will not be able to lead up into anything. And I also saw she bought an Oblivion Orb too.
I mean, Mundo heals a lot in the late game fights. I can kind of see the logic behind reducing his healing, kind of maybe more valuable than dealing more damage, but also maybe some defensive item could be worth it. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough call there, because I mean, the Kale has to kind of 1v9 the game at that point. And so I wouldn't, whether it was the optimal item or not. I think for 800 gold it is a pretty good buy, frankly.
I think one big thing is that Science of the Pickle really need to center themselves, because there's especially that last fight, it got really messy, because it felt like Amumu was just like, okay, I have a huge opportunity to go for an ult. I really need to make this play happen because we're backs against the wall. But as you said earlier, all the damage was still in the base, because Mundo was still standing there, basically unaffected, even though all the CC was on him.
Yeah, and like there was still time, I think, for Syndicate to stall out in their base. They have these carries that can kind of wave clear pretty effectively. They have the Amumu, so no one's going to want to go too deep onto those carries. And if they were able to do that for another 30 seconds or so, Baron would be gone. They might be able to get their Lissandra back and play for another fight. And we also saw their capability of winning 4v5s at times. So I still think, even when the Lissandra had gone down, that fight was winnable for Syndicate. And it's unfortunate that Fiendish Feller goes a little too deep. Again, desperation play, it feels like. But from what was a still potentially winnable situation into just GG.
It got so scary. Like, the game started to swing in really unpredictable ways, even though the early game seemed bad. What was like the score, like 13-2 at some point?
Yeah,
like...
15-2 is what I remember seeing. And I don't know if it got any better or worse from there, but yeah.
Well, we'll have to see what it goes on here, because now feels like Science of the Pickle is starting to feel the burn. They're like, okay, this is not just any regular team that just barely made playoffs. Like, we're going to be able to defeat them easy. We're the higher seed. Oh no, this is a very scary wild card team that you explained earlier. And now we're starting to see that all members on Excessive Greed are able to come out clutch.
They're showing up in playoffs. Maybe they just did their prep. Maybe they made sure to get an extra good night of sleep or a special meal, whatever it is. They are showing up big in this series. But there have been cracks in XSV's game plan. I still think Syndicate could pull off the reverse sweep if they can keep their heads cool. If they can take advantage of some of the champion pool being a little more pinched later on. But we'll find out about that after a break in a few moments here.
My goodness, it's been a fight on both fronts. It's been a fight for two of them, but it's all one-sided. The game got a little ugly at the end. I am Wolfie Scratch, and I'm joined by Freedom Potatoes. Freedom Potatoes, we talked about in game number 1, we got to make sure this mid laner doesn't get out of control. Game number 2, they did for a little bit. It got ugly. There was a steal, but it's looking bad.
It is looking rough for Syndicate. They have their backs against the wall at that 0-2 score line. But you know, it's still a position they could come back from in game number 3. We've seen good team fighting from them, frankly. They've been able to get some steals in these games, but I want to see them play on the front foot. I need them to get ahead in the early game, you know, and be able to play with confidence. And so far, we haven't really gotten to see that outside of maybe the first few minutes.
So let's see how the draft. Remember, did they finally switch sides?
Yes, they have switched sides. So maybe they've got a B1 pick cooked up for us that is going to throw a wrench into XSV's plans, because so far they've been giving counter pick to the solo lanes and it hasn't really worked too heavily in their favor.
Not at all. We have yet to see the results. We have yet to see anything bloom, but the Malphite being instantly striked away. Are we going to see another Jarvan ban? It seems that Excessive is just like, we're not going to deal with that. And looks like the Prince will have to take a seat. No Flag and Dragon Cataclysm for you. We'll see what Science Syndicate Pickle can do, because Vi struck away. A lot of focus on these high octane, jungle who can just do a point and click.
Point and click CC, AoE hard CC, they want to protect their carries, but some of those carry champions, the Victor and the Orianna, have been banned away. And so now that Syndicate is on the blue side, I am curious to see what they're going to pick up. They've got options with, some of the junglers. There is the Pantheon. They were banning that away before. So it seems like they just really value that champion a lot. It wasn't just necessarily just a targeted ban, but they want it for themselves.
Strong jungler who can have insane presence with ult when reached at level 6, has great early DPS as well. Hello, cat.
Gotta make sure he's visible. There's only seen like a little bit of him.
On the job. And Smolder and Wukong picked away. We'll show the Maul being able to do so much in that jungle aspect. Wukong is just another ridiculous character you'll be playing against. And Kaisa selected. We'll see what the accompaniment is, because you do see Smolder. What's the response?
It looks like Syndicate is trying to be a little more, aggressive with this draft. It's going to be the Kaisa with the Rel into the Smolder. Now, I am a little worried for Rel in that you have a few good options like the Alistar or the Janna that can kind of disrupt the Rel engage pretty effectively. So as a blind pick, okay, it is going to be the Braum. Not as direct of a disruption, but still makes it very hard for Syndicate to follow up on whatever engage is coming through from the Rel and from the Pantheon. So he's going to be trying to protect that Smolder, slowing people down, getting the stuns off, buying space for that carry. But I like that Syndicate has drafted themselves a variety of options to get very aggressive in the early game. I think they need something like that to change the pace of the series up.
Anything at this point. Lots of desperate stuff. We'll have to see what the bans are.
A little bit of... The bans are not quite showing up for us, but I've got to assume these are towards solo laners from both teams here. Those are the only lanes that haven't been picked. Okay, it's top laners banned by Syndicate again. Is the Smoke just have some picks that we really don't know about that because I'm always wondering, why aren't we banning Singe's pool? And yes, Darius and Garen can kind of stomp some of those matchups in the early game, but in competitive play, they're usually pretty easy to deal with once the late game rolls around. And it is going to be Ambessa picked up for the Pickle, which is a champion that has some pretty good carry potential and can get onto the back line even through the Braum engage.
Way is able to get locked in. Let's see what Excessive has to do. This is the last pick, so they're able to save this up for their...
So I'm a Hui main. I love playing Hui, but this feels like a tough game to be Hui in. Wait. Oh. It's okay. I was a little confused there. That is an Aurora, not an Aurelian Soul that you see on your screen. But they've got you know, multiple champions that can kind of stealth in, flank you from different angles. The Wukong and Aurora are going to make things very hard for this Squay to play, but he does have a few other champions that can buy space for him. The Rel, Panth, and Ambessa are all going to be, you know, able to engage onto XSV. They have point and click CC for the Aurora when she pops out of stealth. They have the ability to get onto Smolder, so if they're able to let Concerned Badger play his game, he might be able to make some magic happen. But with how the series has been going so far, that Aurora pick, it is Sinja's third most played. So he's gotten his number 1, number 2, and number 3 picks so far this series, and that scares me.
Uncontested.
Yeah,
like uncontested. Like there's been
zero bans thrown his way. At this point, I want to see, you know, a little you know, check the PayPal, because he might be bribing the drafters for Syndicate.
We'll see. But at least for Kaisa, at least for Solo Mason, plenty of ways to stack that plasma, and here comes the concussive blows. This is why you don't want to go against the early Braum, because arguably one of the strongest level 1 champions.
I feel like in general, vision plays are kind of harder to go for this season because, you know, the minions arrive so much faster. You are delaying yourself getting to that lane. You can see Jellybean Jeff is going to be a little late down bot there, but does he really care? Because he got first blood for his team, and I think that's pretty worth losing a couple minions of XP, if he even does.
And charging up the decimating smash for a little bit. Honestly, a very tough start to already in a series that you are behind in. Whoa. Garel able to dodge up from that one. Not going to get hit up with the Winter's Bite. But in all honesty, this lane should just be kind of focused. Both of them are going to be farming up, try to be that hyper carry, at least for Kaisa. Solo Mason's got plenty of ways, as I said earlier, to stack up that plasma. They're going to go for an early fight. Barrier instantly thrown out, but this is what I'm worried about. Being able to instantly stack it up, but great damage.
Good damage onto Koopa, but he does have that health pot. Is still healthy enough that he can play the lane, but is down barrier as well. So that, you know, I want to see Syndicate now let this wave bounce back towards them so they can play from that bush. Even though it's warded, if you can threaten the Smolder anytime he walks up for a creep, you're going to be in a good spot. But right now, Koopa can kind of play under his tower, and if Phenomenal tries to make a big play happen, he's just going to get stunned up and go down as...
Going down might be someone else, as the Rel needs to limp and get away. Exhaust. Remember, there's no cleanse this time. Counter it to try to stop it, but it seems all for naught. Flash is burned, but the reward is great. Koopa gets spoon-fed a kill as well. A 3-0 start. Potato, doesn't this look familiar?
That is not good for Syndicate. And you can see, we'll show them all choosing to forego his camps. The ward from, I believe, Sinja on the Raptor camp there sees Fiendish Feller taking those camps. And so we'll show them all decides to skip his bot camps and get his bot lane in a good position because they were down HP, they were shoved in, and I was just talking about Syndicate needs to let the wave bounce back, but instead Solo Mason runs up, tries to auto the Smolder, throws the Q into the wave for a little bit of extra poke, and he puts himself in a position where he can't really get away from the incoming Wukong gank.
And it's just progressively gonna get worse. 3-0 already at 3 minutes, basically a kill per minute. We'll have to see how the equalizing factor will be able to kick in. Top lane, as per usual, honestly, will be going in the favor of the Pickle. Has been such a great mainstay within the team, within for Sign Solo Pickle, but the problem is that Excessive Greed's game plan is not circulated around top lane. They are willing to weak side it in favor of getting everyone else to be strong. We're gonna see a dive. This should be a quick work flash, try to be utilized, try to for a little bit more survival, but smoke will be going down.
Nice kill to put Ambessa ahead. The more ahead Ambessa gets, the easier she's gonna, you know, the easier time she's gonna have dealing with the Scion. He likes to stack HP, but Ambessa is so good in those extended trades and doesn't really care about all that. Concerned Badger's actually taking some pretty good trades in the mid lane. Despite that first blood, he is giving Sinja a run for his money here, but running is phenomenal.
Well, here it comes, trying to change it, and Wukong forces the flash out, getting strong-sided by the jungler is gonna be tough for Science Solo Pickle to try to maneuver around. Oh, it's a mess. Like, sure, your top side is at least getting a little bit ahead, and you need to be ahead, first of all. This is a Mbessa versus Sion matchup, and Sion got handed a free kill, but that's a Tiamat first item.
Yeah, he's gonna still be able to match Mbessa's wave clear pretty nicely. Not doing too bad in the farm department on the Sion there, and it feels like Syndicate, you know, I mean, they have a lane that can get aggressive, but it doesn't inherently win the early game. Smolder, I think, you know, he's not strong level in the earlier levels per se, but he does have access to some wave clear and some poke. And if, you know, unless the all-in comes through from start to finish from Syndicate, there's no guarantee that you get the kill on him. And, you know, and Braum is no slouch in the early game either. So XSV's bot lane has been able to stabilize, kind of bait Syndicate in, and then play the turnaround game on them really nicely in these first few minutes.
And Dragon is all but confirmed. We're starting to see a little bit of Realm Jelly being Jeff, ready to go ahead and get that mid. And Bessa getting this combo down, plenty of damage, but Smoke simply shaking off, willing to take the extended shred. Here it comes. The 1v1 public execution might be right. Everyone could see it on the map. You are gone. You are dead. A little bit of a step-up mistake from Sion, but it does make sure that the dragon is all. Oh no! What?
Wait, what? Oh!
Did Kai'Sa steal it with Void Seeker? Did Kai'Sa steal that Void Seeker?
I don't see any other way she could have gotten that dragon from all the way down there. So yes, I do believe the Void Seeker coming through is gonna punish. We'll smite them all. He's not gonna smite them all. He's missed a few key smites this game. But yeah, I think he might have smited the dragon early or something, because he didn't have it. I noticed when we looked down there, it was not up. So I think he had used it either to smite one of his own camps or to start off the dragon take and try to, you know, wait, or does he have it here? Or is it just early? Maybe it was just early. Yeah, oh, that is frame perfect. How did he... That was 681 HP. He smites it as the crushing strike is coming through, or crushing blow is coming through, and it's just that, yeah, one frame basically between the smite and the Wukong auto where the Void Seeker sneaks its way in and gets it. That is, you know, maybe a stroke of luck from God himself or something to give that over to the side of Syndicate, because they need that early objective to help themselves in this game.
A little bit of magic from Summoner's Rift, being able to get something. And Concerned Badger in this mid matchup is doing a really good job being able to get this damage shot done on Sinja. Estimating Smash gets awkwardly charged up, but being able to still compete within that damage department. And what I really like to see, I think every single game, Kuba has bot Cole.
I mean, Kuba knows his job is to kind of farm up and just be the carry in the late game. He's been a very reliable source of DPS in the ADC role here. It's been mostly the mid and jungle that are carrying the mid game, and he is just an insurance policy. And on the Smolder pick, that's true more than anywhere else in this series. If the game goes late, XSV, you know, they had to deal with the Kale last time. This time, it's Smolder. That is, yeah, that insurance policy for them.
It's a tough one as well. Lots of damage, lots of stacks, and an execution point that can become a nasty little thing to work with. We're starting to see a little bit of equalization. Supports are roaming, trying to get that vision game down. Sinja being able to kind of jump out from the later burst as we're seeing some Void Grub action. Great stuff by Wukong. Just saying like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and use my clone to get away. Ooh. Has to burn the ult to make sure you stay safe. Unstoppable Onslaught. But keep in mind, I do think that Kai'Sa, I do believe Solo Mason is about to be a victim of a dive. Can you make it out? Great stuff to escape, but a TP burned as well?
It's going to be the TP burned and the Killer Instinct, but keeping your AD carry alive so he can keep farming up, I'd say that is worth it. Now, I don't know why the Pickle's sticking around here. I think he kind of needs to get back to his top lane, but wants to get some value out of that. Ooh!
Sinja got grabbed. Sinja got grabbed, and the ult tried to utilize it, but both junglers are going to go ahead and try to make your way. Oh my goodness, so many flashes. And Mom will hear the call, stunned up. Koopa being able to get spoon-fed yet another kill. It looked so good until you realize after the burst, you ain't got anything to follow it up with more damage.
Yeah, they needed another rotation of spells from Concerned Badger to pull that kill off, and so and there was no priority for Solo Mason or Fiendish Feller either. You saw they were both down, or sorry, Pickle and Solo Mason actually. The Ambessa commits the TP bot and sticks around for so long, but now it's up.
And a nice double response. Smoke trying to get away. A lot of flashes, a lot of resources burned for a Scion. We'll be able to finally get the kill. Trying to get a little bit of a compensation. They're trying to keep the game state alive. But if you look at where these kills are being placed to, I'm very worried about Scion Solo Pickle because this Smolder is starting to become a threat very soon, and it's only the early game.
Yeah, Smolder already 2-0, working his way towards being a massive threat. Has 82 stacks, I've gotten word, so that is, yeah, really something to watch out for. And Concerned Badger keeps throwing this exact same combo. It is a good combo, but once Sinja has shown that he dodges in that same way, you got to switch it up a little bit. That's the fun part of Hwei, is varying those combos up. You know, I do think the Pickle is going to be, you know, he has access to the backline. If he can find an ult onto Koopa in these team fights, he might be able to nullify the threat that is the Smolder. But there are a lot of peel tools on the side of XSV that are going to make that harder than it looks.
And you'll get the initiation. You might get your initial burst, but it's going to be really hard for the team to follow it up. Vision is able to be revealed. Oh, what an amazing fear. Great step forward by Concerned Badger, staying alive, not having to burn any summoner spells even if you had it, but still a good amount of resources burned. We'll have to see if that translates into anything because we're starting to see a lot of attention in the mid-bottom area, and Dragon is up.
Dragon is up. Syndicate has the first move in the area, but Pantheon is kind of backing off. His top camps are coming up, and he doesn't want to spend too long down bot in case he falls behind in resources. Now, Will Show Them All is making his way there. Oh, hold on.
No. Oh, the ult lands, but I think... Oh, no way! Speed up! Can you make it? Hides in the bush!
Lord. Oh.
No boots early while Scion has a speed up and a shoe to go. You're gonna go ahead and get the kill traded, and if you're Smoke, you're laughing.
And I think there was just a little bit of hesitation from the Pickle there as well. He got the kill, but then kind of stutter-stepped a little bit. That little bit of space might have been enough to get him out, as we are going to get a replay here. So, yeah, I mean, Pickle generally playing this matchup pretty well, but giving over those trade kills when you are ahead, you know, and you aren't able to deny your opponent the resources, right? Sion's already collected this wave. Isn't really the ideal situation. So he gets the unstoppable, and then, yeah, he walks back in. I think that might have been an attack move towards the tower, is my guess on why he did that. And then Smoke just bonks him with that passive move speed, which is, you know, yeah, when you're in a matchup that is this winning for you, you don't want to be giving over those 1-for-1 kills.
What was also clutch too is that when the damage was coming into play from the Pickle, Soul Furnace shield was still up and running. It was a great response by Smoke to instantly go for the unstoppable onslaught, get that CC down, and being able to get that trade kill. You're still not going to win the lane, let's be all real here. Let's not get too optimistic, but you're happy about the direction of that because you're getting some gold, you're stabilizing it out, you're going to continue to get these stacks and become a problem, become a tank. We'll have to see what the circulation is from the other team. We'll have to see what Scion Solo Pickle can do to respond. Because as per usual, all three games, top lane seems to go fine, but it's the other lanes that get worrisome.
It is the other lanes where things get worrisome, but speaking of worries, Solo Mason has to burn the ult in the bottom lane. Does get away, but still, you want to be using that killer instinct to kill, not to run. It's not, I don't know, runner's instinct. So it's yeah, that is once again having to use it defensively. Is still in a good spot in terms of the CS, and mid lane likewise, despite being down 2 kills. Well, it's not 2 kills on his direct counterpart. The kills have gone to other members of XSV. Concerned Badger is keeping pace in the CS department, and so is in a much better spot than we've seen in some of these previous games.
Cleans up the wave. But a scrap happens in the bot side. Here comes Pantheon, ready to go. Great stall by Jelly Bean, being able to get the Braum ult. The Glacial Fissure was able to stall for a little bit of time, and Concerned Badger gets the fear. Temporarily able to get it, but you can't dodge everything. You are still immortal. Double knockup.
Okay.
Here comes Fiendish Fella trying to get this damage down. The support is still lacking. Double kill. That's a lot of damage, but these in extended fights, it's going to be Wukong warning out. But here comes the AD carry. Both them flash. Desperate for a kill. Trying to get some kind of slowdown, but can't secure it. Because of that, that's got to suck. You know, if only Kaisa had an ultimate ability to close the gap.
When you had a teammate that had recently applied hard CC to them. But unfortunately, yeah, Solo Mason flashes, doesn't get anything, but those are some much needed kills for Syndicate. However, they are, you know, kind of on the back foot in terms of tempo. That is going to let XSV play some deep vision in the Syndicate jungle. That is going to provide some additional protection for Smolder and potentially give Will Show Them All an invade angle as well. I didn't see how that fight in mid started because Concerned Badger was very, very low in moments. Oh no.
No. Hey.
Well, that's no good for Concerned Badger. I felt like the early game had been, you know, more stable for him than some of these other games. You know, he was down 0-2, but up in CS, and one of those kills was just like a pre-lane death. So I was not feeling too bad for him, but now sitting at 0-4, things are going to be getting a lot harder for the Syndicate mid laner. And Smolder's getting the free farm down in the bottom side here and try to knock down the first turret of the game as well.
Oh, hell no. This is too much. You're strong, Pickle, but you need to be positioning a little bit better. You what was that, like 5 tower shots at this point?
He thinks he's Scion. Oh, what?
Oh. Oh, no. No? Oh, the flash works, but Scion is tanky, so sure, you're able to get it. Oh, boy. Here she comes. X-Leg is assault to stay alive. Will be able to finally get shut down. Finally being able to get a kill. Solo Mason was hungry for that one. Had to finally use that killer instinct aggressively, but here comes the fight. Still alive. Still a render factor. Double kill comes into play. That's a good amount of damage, but a shutdown for Scion. Solo Mason finally gets some gold in the pocket. It was a messy fight that I'm honestly surprised that Scion Solo Pickle wanted to take.
They really wanted to dive the Scion and punish him when he was already, you know, sitting on 5 deaths. I don't think punishing Scion is how you win this game. And then there were a few, honestly, kind of crazy mechanical misplays at the start of this, in my opinion. Pickle taking up so much damage. But Fiendish Feller, we haven't been speaking enough about him this game. He is very strong on this Pantheon. He was, I think, 3-0-2 at the start of this play. Sinja, though, on yet another one of his signature picks, does get a nice kill onto the Pantheon, but then gives one right back to Solo Mason, who, yeah, finally has, you know, started to show some life in this game. In that last fight in this one. And what'd you see there?
The last minute stun from Rel to stay alive, and as well as Pantheon being able to try to make something happen. But here comes Wukong and calling the mom. Here comes multiple members of this fight, but eats it all directly to the face. Is not able to secure it just yet. A huge frontliner, and look how much time Venus Fell is able to get. Here comes the public execution. It finds the marker on the one target you wanted on, but the CC department is looking so damn good, stopping Pickles from doing anything, and it's just getting slowly burned alive.
A nice kill onto Wukong for Syndicate Solo Pickle, but they lose 3 in the process, going a little deep into the enemy backline. They might have just been able to turn onto Will Show Them All and nuke him down and then try to transition that into the rest of the fight, but it's a little all over the place. Smolder is now at 176 stacks, rapidly closing in on that lethal execution threshold, and the teams are dead even in gold and dragons, although that shouldn't last. Wait, hold on.
No way.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, that's it. Wait, wards over the wall. Wait, no, he didn't ward that. Does that ward just not see the ward from Syndicate? It might be too far. He gets a free kill onto the enemy Smolder.
Another divine intervention comes into play, but keep in mind, look at that damage. Great blast plant being able to stun up to phenomenal. Being able to get it, and Concerned Badger is able to get another kill. So a little bit of a miracle worker coming into the plays. It's not a huge reward, so to say, but it's still more gold in the pocket, and you're gonna need as much as you can. Cracking mid tower is another good way of doing it. This is weird to say, but this is the most even Saiyan Solo Pickle has looked in this entire series.
Yeah, I mean, in game number 1, they kept the gold even for a while, but it just felt like, you know, there was a house of cards that was one push away from falling. In this game, it actually... Okay. No. Oh, nice fear from Concerned Badger. Let him live.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. These, like, solo wardless pushes feel like they're so... what's the word? Tilt based, you know, you're just like, I just want to get a kill, I want to get some more farm here, I just want to be able to get it. This is like the third time that this mid laner Concerned Badger has been caught like that. And arguably, even though the level 1 death, you could say that, you know, a lot of that is just autopilot, right? When you go deep into the series, when you might be tilted or exhausted from playing out those previous games, people revert to their habits. And a lot of those habits come from, you know, spamming games in solo queue, where teams might not be gearing up to punish you as hard for going for a Raptor ward or pushing up alone on the side. But in an environment where there's voice comms in play and people can, you know, read you and communicate that really early to their team, you get punished way harder for that kind of autopiloting. And it's happened to Concerned Badger several times in this series and this game alone. We'll have to see if the Pickle is still a huge threat. But as we saw in that previous one, when you're the last person standing and there's a Braum ready to go, an excellently placed public execution. Here comes the Grand Starfall as well. Hits all the members.
Oh.
And here comes the mom as well. A flashaway from Smolder, being able to stay safe and stay alive. Full stacks on this one, but the rest of the team members of Excessive Greed are coming in. A huge ult, being able to swing the side, turn the tables, and the Kaisa goes aggressive, goes for the flash as well. A huge play by Side Mason, the Solo Mason, being able to try to get it down. The plasma stacks are burning, the fear as well. Triple kill. Oh my goodness, they were able to somehow turn it around. Thank goodness that the mid laner wasn't there. Thank goodness Sinja wasn't there, but that's still a tower having so much damage put down. Ooh.
Yeah, Sinja is still getting so much gold into his own pockets off of this play, but finally it feels like Concerned Badger is on one of his own signature champions and is showing some brilliance in the amount of damage he's able to pump out in these fights. But with the tower going the way of Sinja, that is going to be a big back for the Rabbit. And it's, you know, I'm scared to see what kind of magic the Aurora can pull off in these fights, because Sinja has consistently across this series found great angles from out of vision, caught Syndicate asleep at the wheel, and punished them for their decisions. He is on a squishy champ. There are angles for Syndicate to jump on him when he comes out of stealth, but I am still afraid, because that's another needlessly large rod picked up by the Aurora.
Aurora is starting to become a threat, but at the same time, so is the Kaisa. Here comes the Pickle. Once again, stuck on there, but is able to stall for so much time, is so damn strong. Goes for the flash, only finds one member, and the exhaust instantly comes down. Phenomenal, able to secure the kill on another support. The mom call is able to find all those members. A great dive, honestly, by Saiyan Solo Pickle. They're able to get a huge amount of reward, not even letting Aurora's power spike become a factor if she can't even join. But once again, same song and dance, the reward is great. But if you look at the other side, there's a Saiyan that's pushing, but someone might have just overstayed their visit. Koopa, here comes the Q, still alive, but out of potato.
Not for long. Might be a kill over to the Rel. No, they're gonna donate it to Concerned Badger. Better for them. I don't know if that flash saves smoke either.
Might for now. Yeah, there's no consistent damage. If it was Kaisa, maybe a different story.
Hui can have great chase potential, but the crushing mom missing there is going to signal them to back off, let smoke live. And I mean, frankly, chasing for the 5 and 8 sound, probably not a great use of your time. Better to get some of these minions. And while all that was going on, Dragon has spawned on the bottom side. And XSV is a little more present in the area. Syndicate with some late back timers, but they're not going to start up the Dragon that will give Syndicate the window to walk in here and try to put up a proper fight. Koopa also only just spawning up now, going to be pretty late here. Can Syndicate take advantage of this?
They have to go now. If they want to be able to get the first move and take advantage of this one, they either need to make sure that the 80 carry can't join up the fight, but instead they're going to go ahead and take the 5v5 a little nervous, honestly, because it's really going to be dependent on their Smolder is online. They're all grouped up. Hex Flash utilized, has access! Able to get into the front line and the back. But here it comes. There's a lot of damage. Kaisa goes huge and eats a lot of damage and is able to get it down. But because of the disconnected combo game, it leads to it falling apart where it needs to matter most. It's going to be a dragon taken. Concerned Badger has to walk off from the sidelines, just trying to find an angle. Oh my goodness. It looked so good until it wasn't.
I mean, how many times have we seen this series? A huge engage from someone on the side of Syndicate Solo Pickle and the damage just not being there. In this case, it's Will Show Them All buying so much time for this. Oh no, Concerned Badger. Okay, I think he does live, but walked a little too close to a wall where he had no vision. And on the chase, Hui can deal a lot of damage. Whether it's, the long range combo with Q plus W or just slowing people down and giving your own team speed, but bites off a little more than he can chew, has to blow the flash at the end. And it's a great job by Will Show Them All in that fight to use the Cyclone and disrupt the entirety of Syndicate Solo Pickle from following up. Then the exhaust coming through. Or was there an exhaust on the Kaisa? I mean, with the cooldown, I don't think there actually was. So that's the Braum Shield, the CC, something stopped Solo Mason from doing what he wanted to in the back line there. He dove in with the Killer Instinct to follow up on Phenomenal's phenomenal engage, and it still wasn't enough.
The disconnects within the combo, every member needs to be right there at the exact same time, but that's difficult to do when you have members on the other team trying not to get hit with it. And because of the interruption and because the fight got split into different parts, the wombo combo of that insane Magnet Storm fizzled out, unfortunately. And Kaisa was able to kind of get CC'd up, did get a lot of damage, but we're not starting to see it as we see a fight potentially heading out in the jungle. They really want to kill this jungler now. They want to make sure that Pantheon will not be there to simply contest this Baron. That's so much damage because, let's be real, Smolder is terrifying.
Smolder is online, has the execute, has 3 items. Black Cleaver helping to chunk through the enemy's health bars, on the tankier members. But it is not going to be the Baron for now. They scare Fiendish Feller off and get the flash off of the Pantheon, which is a major engage tool. As it's a Badger.
Oh, you're showing jungler here, and they have full prio on Baron. Oh, they're gonna go ahead and just counter engage. Magnet Storm finds 3 members. Is an insane amount of stun, an insane amount of DPS. Great public execution is able to find 1. Hold on, can we make it into End of No More? Koopa is gonna go ahead and on a killing spree. There's so much damage and a lot of health bars being shredded. Phenomenal was able to slay Koopa, but unfortunately, the damage department's not there. The gold lead is starting to reel its ugly head, and that is a problem.
It's a very close game overall still. 23-23 the kills, 900 gold in favor of Syndicate, but it feels like XSV does have the lead with how strong that Smolder is. And I mean, in a fight where Aurora isn't there, you can see how much work Solo Mason's able to do, but as soon as Sinja teleports in, it's a completely different story. And we also saw down on the bot side, Smoke using the teleport to evade kill coming through from Concerned Badger, who was outplaying him a little bit, but once the CC is used, Sion, as long as he's got a little bit of health left, can just TP out of there. And so it ends up being a 3 for 2 in XSV's favor. Nothing too major going to come of it in the for the time being, just going to reset the game state, and that means it's time for XSV to play for this dragon. They have all the deep vision, but Syndicate is going to try to walk through and clear it out now.
Because of Solo Mason's steal, it actually is going to make it so that Soul will not be secured, which should have been a bit ago. 30 minutes is approaching soon enough, like an encroaching shadow. And honestly, this Kaisa is strong, but the Smolder having access to these stacks is what's really changing things up We'll have to see what the response is. The Braum is putting in a hella amount of work, being able to set up that shield, the Unbreakable. Next fight should be coming up soon because this is Soul Point, and it's going to be the Cloud Soul as well.
Cloud Soul going to be absolutely terrifying for the side of XSV. They have a lot of champions that can just, you know, if they get that soul, can use that move speed expertly. Smolder peeling for himself alone is great value, but the rest of them are also able to chase or disengage even better if they get that. So Syndicate needs to stop this from happening. They have their ults up, they have most of their summoners up, but the flash is down on a few crucial members for Syndicate, and it looks like a fight's about to break out now.
Oh, it might be a slow one. Both of them don't want to make the wrong move because, as you mentioned earlier, Freedom Potatoes, the gold count is hella even. 3 people are be able to get stunned up. A teleport comes into play, a weird fight, but they're really focused on. They know who to go for. Great, being able to get the Whirling Cyclone, but the GA gets instantly popped. Wukong's got to be careful. Here comes Public Execution, and it's supposed to catch the follow-up. I think that was a huge mistake, honestly, as we're gonna see a collapse, and Sinja is unstoppable. Great stuff by Phoenix Fellow to try to clean it up. Gets the 80 carry killed out there, but here it comes. Double kill. This Pantheon is hella strong. Triple kill. Could look for a better potentially. Both of them just trying to get away. Another slow is able to connect. The clone is utilized, but honestly, it's the gap caser.
How is that not a
kill
Quadra?
essentially
What?
for it. I'm not sure why it didn't count, but Smoke's not waiting to find out. Pantheon goes crazy here.
And finally for Syndicate, they have a convincing win in a team fight. It's been a while, but that should give them this Cloud Drake and stall out the soul that XSV was looking for. They're not going to be able to claim the Baron, but denying the soul and, you know, giving themselves time to scale up even more is big. Yes, Smolder has infinite scaling, but I think with how these fights are playing out, Concerned Badger is also something that XSV have to be really concerned about themselves, because I mean, the amount of AoE damage he's getting done in these fights is massive, and they don't have a super snappy engage on XSV to deal with the Hui. They need Wukong and Aurora to find their way onto him together, or to just deal with the front line from Syndicate and then turn their attention towards this Hui.
I think one thing that we also just need to watch out for is the itemizations. The game is going on. Pantheon has expensive items that have been like being able to be fulfilled. He's doing a lot of damage, as we saw in that last fight, being able to get the second part of that Comet Spear, just tapping it, will be able to get so much damage down. I'm worried about Kaisa, right? We saw in the last fight, Killer Instinct and had the Zhonya's. I get why you want to play aggressive, but just only got one burst of that Cathian Rain, and then simply just had nothing else to go off of. Great job by the Hui, by Concerned Badger. But at the same time, an open fight like that, it just felt like a huge mistake by Excessive Greed, especially after the Will Show the Mall ult engage really fumbled.
XSV, or Syndicate, sorry, has great tools to play these fights slowly. Hui can continue to chunk out those health bars from range, and yeah, with an early pick like that onto the Wukong, you know, even though he had the GA, they have the option to play things slow instead of going for the play immediately. If they can set up the poke with those Void Seekers, with any sort of, you know, poke from the Hui, I think the fights will swing much more in their favor, because it's a little hard for XSV to answer them in that respect. Aurora can kind of poke from vision, but exposes herself to some risk. Smolder's poke is more reliant on having someone to, you know, bounce the Q off of, and so it's a very winnable position for Syndicate, but they still need to make sure they're finding their way onto the Smolder in these fights and not doing it too early.
And because of Kaisa's help and as well as the build, they can shred Baron pretty damn well. Whoa. Yeah, watch out, Sinja. You may be the GOAT, but let's be real. The public execution in front of everyone will not feel too good, especially when you are isolated and alone. And also keep a mind on those summoner spells. Sinja does not have flash. And in the last fight, we were actually worried about how Signed solo Pickle will be able to get a reliable engage because there was no flash on the important key members. But in comes Excessive Greed into the awaiting arms because of their engage attempt. It didn't work out. And now Kaisa has Zhonya's ready to go. This is a very scary AD carry.
She can get her burst combo off onto Koopa, you know, following up on either Phenomenal's engage or the Pickle or Fiendish Feller. They have a lot of options, but hold on.
Yeah, they're collapsing. Honestly, rush the Baron. They're gonna go for the call. Public execution just gets the damage down. Oh my goodness, the Pickle is just trying to escape. They have to use the flash in order to get a great shield, and the ults are burning. The Pickle is still alive. The Pickle is able to keep stalling, and that's a free Baron. A nice attempt by Sinja, but they have to recall. They have to recall it immediately and not get caught. Sinja just try to stop it out there. Every single member makes it out.
I think Sinja might have been able to use the Between Worlds there just for the stall and the recalls. If he buys time for his team to show up, that could be a whole lot of kills going the way of XSV once you sow that chaos. But instead, the backs come through, and I think Syndicate will be able to stabilize, hold these waves, and you know, be able to start using this Baron. Okay, no, they are going to lose the inner turret. The waves are just not set up for them. The recall timers are not there, but that is still going to give Syndicate the option of knocking down some of these inner turrets. It's just, even when they've had these major objectives in these games, you've seen it 2 other times with the Baron Steel and the Elder that they secured in game number 1. They were a little hesitant to really use these Uber buffs. And I mean, in those games, they were much more behind. Now they are in an even, you know, slightly ahead even state. So they should feel more confident to make these plays, but still in a playoff series like this, the nerves can make it hard to commit. And they're a little desynced on their timers as well with the Mbessa coming from base.
And one timer that's going to be easy to track is the flash of Well Show Them All. Knowing that it's ready to go, knowing that Wukong will not be able to go for a clone and go in for the Nimbus Strike. Hold on. We'll see how this fight might turn out. It's looking a little messy, as both of them are just going to go ahead and just push him into the jungle. You can see how hesitant both teams are now.
Sinja uses that Realm Hop, doesn't have access to the stealth for a little longer, and the teams are playing on each other's side of the mid lane. They have fully swapped sides at this point. And so that is going to be the dragon started by Fiendish Feller, but we'll show them all. You can see him wrapping around the red buff side, does have a control ward in the pit.
They're flipping. They're going to flip. 50-50. Oh, both smites strike down, but it's going to be the Wukong having to use the entire kit and losing GA. That's a nat 1. I'm sorry. You lost everything and no counter engage. It's going to be going to go ahead and get everything down. Another objective fulfilled. Oh, here comes the Grand Starfall. They are going to be on the chase, but instantly the call is to pull it back. We got the reward. Why overextend?
The thing with Baron is you want to use it in the lanes. A lot of the power of the buff is in empowering those minions so that your opponent can't wave through them. If you're playing fights in the jungle, playing the chase game, you're not really getting that full value. Yes, you get some stats, but that's not really how you want to be using it. And so Syndicate now does grab that mid inner turret. The minions down bot also doing work to get that turret. And that is going to now be sole point for both teams and a decent infusion of gold into Syndicate's pockets, but Koopa's still scaling up. So it really feels at this point, with the Baron buff wearing off in 10 seconds, like it's still anyone's game.
It's a ticking dragon bomb, and I'm very scared of when it will detonate. All those stacks being stirred up. If we can get a count on how many Koopa has, it should be a very terrifying ordeal. We'll have to see if both teams can really, find the fine balance, because both of the AD carries are going to be doing a massive amounts of work and damage. But as we're worried about with the stack game, it's technically an infinite scaling smolder. And as time comes down, the threat is an everlasting thing that you're going to be having to deal with. Great comeback established by Side Solo Pickle. They're looking way better in this entire series, and I'm very happy to see that. Unfortunately, this game is on a knife's edge. It can go either way, and it might start with a free pick in top lane.
They've got to watch out for that Wukong looking topside, but when GA is down, We'll Show Them All is just not as strong as this Pantheon. The items, so much of that item's power is invested into the passive, and so the items that Pantheon has, in addition to having more of them, are just a little more effective on the gold. 8 and 3 is the scoreline for Fiendish Feller. He is kind of the one to deal with in many ways for Syndicate. as Smoke
Uh-oh.
is going to use the ult bot. Ooh.
And here comes the clone over the wall. This is gonna be 3-1. What's the response? They're instantly gonna try to engage. Great flash, but a counter flash as well. Trying to make sure you get this kill. Shutdown comes into play, and there's no objective up, so it's gonna be a nice pick. Wukong having to burn the flash once again, however, is a little worrisome. You are one of the best engagers, one of the most consistent ones on your squad. Yes, the call to get the pick works out there, but because of how long of a struggle it took, Concerned Badger goes down swinging and is able to burn a crucial summer spell.
Syndra also used flash somewhere during that exchange, and so yeah, it's a one flash for two if you're counting the summoner spells trade, and but the flash on Hui is potentially the most crucial of all for Syndicate. If he can't get away from XSV's engage, he is kind of just going to melt in these team fights because he doesn't have any real defensive items built. Neither does the Aurora. But on the flip side, with that Wukong flash down, it's much harder to get on Hui in the first place. So if he plays this spacing well, I think Concerned Badger is still going to be able to dish out a ton of damage in this upcoming fight. There is a Baron in 30 seconds. What's up?
Do you see that that super Scorcher Breath? Like the last aspects of it burned Kaisa for that little bit more HP, but that's concerning. That's more stacks. And in this front-to-back fighting, I'm kind of scared if Smolder can just free fire. We'll have to see how it can do. Can you feel the tension, Potato? Can you feel the fear? Both the teams know it's for survival on one end, and the other just wants to end the series. We'll see how it goes down as Baron is up.
XSV really trying to play around these mid waves, but they're using it to run down bot, which is where the Mbessa is playing. That's not where the Baron is, and if they overcommit to that bottom side of the map, Syndicate might be able to just start this Baron up. Again, XSV has their players and their vision committed bot. Concerned Badger, though, has to be careful in the mid lane. There's so many people near him.
Yeah, and Smoke stalling it out. The Mbessa's gonna go ahead, and both these top laners are gonna stall it out. Here comes 50-50. Oh! No flash needed in order to make that one work out. Solo Mason does get the kill afterwards, but we'll have to see what the response is. Baron buff activated, ready to go. But keep in mind, Dragon is going to be up in 8 seconds. These recall timers are really dangerous. They need to know that this might be giving up soul point.
I don't know if Syndicate can afford to recall there. They are gonna have the TP come down. It looks like maybe 2 TPs on. No, it's just the one. Pickle.
Oh, Pickle. Wow. Able to dodge it out. Hold on.
1v4.
Hold on. Oh my God! Public execution on the members. Oh, there's the carries. God, Solo Mason gets the double kill. What we thought was a huge mistake on the recall timers ends up being the huge reward. That sign Solo Pickle is able to get. They're able to cash out, and this was all started at the very beginning of the game when Solo Mason stole it blind with Void Seeker.
It's been a series of steals for both teams at this point now, because there still is that Baron buff on the side of XSV from Will Show Them All getting that steal off, and Wukong's back up and fighting.
Oh, that mob found everyone! Unstoppable is correct. Fiend the Speller able to show off more. A double kill for Pantheon. A nice 2 towers destroyed. And sign Solo Pickle show more signs of life as they take game number 3.
Syndicate showing that as much as Smolder scales, if you can find an angle onto him, he just doesn't get to play the game the way he wants to. So even though there was so much that XSV could do to try to peel for him, there are so many angles this pit champion is getting hit from. The public execution from the Mbessa, Rel coming in with her Ferromancy combos, and then the killer instinct from Kaisa. All the while, Pantheon and Hui also big threats. Every single member on this team did great work in that fight, putting the Smolder in the dirt and securing the win.
We've got a series. We've got one now. Great stuff by the Hui, was able to get so much. And finally, the top lane carry was able to make a huge statement. The public executions have found their mark and being able to dish out so much damage and absorb that pressure. Wukong unfortunately was unable to find those crucial engages and many times burned Summoner Flash to try to finish off a pick to try to stay for survival. But because of that, you lack a consistent engage, and as well as how beefy your team is, when you have all that pressure on your shoulders being your team's reliable engage, you can crumble underneath it. And unfortunately, that did happen as a result. But my goodness, it was still a very close game.
Extremely close game, but props to Concerned Badger, in this game, turned it around, had a bit of a rough early game, but in the team fights, the Hui was doing so much damage. And really, also a big shout out to Solo Mason on the Kaisa and particularly Fiendish Feller on the Pantheon. Unofficial Quadra. In so many of those fights, it looked like things were over for Syndicate Solo Pickle. And then the healing from that Pantheon with the Sundered Sky, with the Death's Dance procs, just continuing the fight. People don't really think of Pantheon as an extended fight type of champion. They think of that, flash W engage, but with this kind of build, he can live for a long time and deal plenty of damage too.
Yeah, this ain't your pre-patch Pantheon where they're only useful for 10 minutes of the game and then quickly fall off as well as the old model looks. But instead, this adjusted build was able to dish out so much damage. A potential reverse sweep in the works. Both teams are going to take some time on the drawing board. And as the series goes on, it puts the real test of not only your mental, but your champion pool.
Champion pool is going to be a big question here. I mean, we said Sinja's got his 3 most comfortable champions. Those are just gone from Fearless Draft now. Maybe that's the big brain strategy from Syndicate. They knew they were going to get those champions gone, and now they don't even have to spend bans on them because they've just been played. Maybe the pool from Sinja is going to be pinched. Maybe it's Concerned Badger's time to shine. But I think Sinja's champion pool goes a lot deeper than the 3 we've seen here, but it's still fun to speculate. And we'll be curious to see how that plays out next game.
Yeah, great stuff. Great to see Sign Solo Pickle on the rise, trying to make it the reverse sweep happen. We're going to go give both teams a well-needed rest. We're going to go ahead and recuperate. Do not go anywhere. We are back with this series of Sign Solo Pickle versus Excessive Greed right after this break. What a series. Both teams fighting tooth and nail, and it's going to be Pickle. Sign solo Pickle, maintaining his...
Oh. I'm here.
Sign solo Pickle will be staying. Oh, I look genuinely horrified. I was like, oh my god, Potato is dead.
Jump scare.
I am Wolfie Scratch Time, joined by Freedom Potato. Potato, last series, it was most even we've seen until a few key mistakes on both ends led to a final few fights out those objectives where Sign Solo Pickle finally is able to fight back in game number 4. We'll have to see what can be done. What are your thoughts?
I think that last game we saw like kind of like a shifting of the timelines with that Void Seeker, like just fitting like in between the frames to like unlock a new universe where Syndicate Solo Pickle is winning. Now it wasn't an easy win. It was, you know, sole point for both teams. Baron Steal from Will Show Them All, but in the end, despite the hypothetical scaling of Smolder, Syndicate was able to pull it out, and you know, I think. I wouldn't call it a convincing win, but I do think every lane looked like it was being played a lot more convincingly than the previous games in the series. So the momentum might be turning to Syndicate side. We'll see if XSV can say no and just put a stop to all of that, or if it really is going to turn toward the Pickle.
We'll see whose day it is. It's going to be the Mel band away. They're going to go ahead and switch sides. So they really want to secure that first pick. We're going to have to see that Corgi is struck away. We've seen Orianna and Jarvan banned commonly. So we'll see if that trend is still going to be maintained in the first phase of these bans. Orianna will be struck away. And keep in mind, Sinja was able to get the most played champions for 3 of the games. The 1, 2, and 3. This is going to be the outlier one.
Yeah, so now Sinja might have to dig a little deeper. Okay, we've got the Malphite ban as well. Flex pick off the table. XSV just really throwing things at the mid lane. That's a triple ban towards mid lane. You know, Concerned Badger maybe had some rough games, but I will say XSV has been really targeting him with these bans, and you know, to try to let Sinja shine the most. And so now it is going to be the Jarvan ban away. This time by Syndicate. It had been being banned by XSV earlier on in the series, but now that the jungle pool has been a little more pinched, I think that's a likely B1 pick. Instead, it's going to be the Vi, who is a pretty solid jungle pick, but I do usually see kind of as a counter to those, you know, Smolder-like champions that aren't very mobile and are very susceptible to that point-and-click dive. But the Xayah is going to be a great answer to that. That's why picking Vi early can be a little risky, because the enemy has time to plan around that.
Yeah, you're not able to target anything that's flying in the sky. A little bit of thoughts on there. Oh, it's good to be Zahin, right? Am I saying that right?
Zahen got one E. 2 A's, 1 E. Can never tell with these Void champs, though. Or, I mean, not Void, the
Darken.
Freaking Darken, yeah.
Oh. Jinx?
Okay, Jinx Vi, we got the Piltover synergy. Vi goes in, tries to set up Jinx for a reset. Makes a lot of sense. But it's not going to be so easy into those Syndicate champions. You got to revive on the Zahan and the untargetability on the Xayah. Nami going to be paired up with the Jinx. Not necessarily the direct strongest combo, but I think Nami's still a very strong support. I believe she is getting tamped down a little bit next patch. And it's going to be the Leona for the side of Syndicate. So Syndicate, once again, leaning into a bit more aggressive of a bot lane.
Yeah, opting to not go for the Enchanter off, and Garen gets banned away. We remember we talked about this. We were a little curious about the reason for the Garen and Darius ban. I wouldn't be surprised we'll see the same thing being set up once again. Guess the top laner Menace is there, and the Galio being banned away. That's what, potentially 4 mid laners struck away. And yeah, Darius is banned. That's what I was thinking about.
So they are trying to set the Pickle up for success in the top lane, while XSV tries to set up Sinja in the mid lane. It's once again those defensive mid lane picks. 5 bans plus 6 Fearless. That's 11 mid laners out of the pool, and most of those targeted towards Concerned Badger. So they're really trying to make him dig deep here, but maybe he can. Ooh. It's going to be the Cassante picked up now, so makes sense why the Garen was banned. That is a good pick into the Cassante, I believe. Darius also pretty strong into him. So that looks like it is then going to be Zahen jungle. Knew that was a flex pick. And the Urgot's going to be the answer for K'Sante. That is also a good pick into K'Sante, but I think also a champion that requires a little bit of specialization. Not everyone can play Urgot. I'm curious if that's something Smoke has in his pool.
Yeah, I was wondering, where's the AP threat? We really need to start balancing off in the damage department. It's going to be Vel'Koz with all of those angles. Yeah, I was like, no way LeBlanc gets picked. Like, you do not want to be blinding LeBlanc into there. And Syndra will be selected as well. 2 mid lane powerhouses. One's got the huge CC control. The other has so much true damage and angles to work off of. A very interesting draft by both teams as their backs are truly against the wall now. One does not want a reverse sweep to happen. The other, fresh off of their first win in the series. I'm very curious how this is going to play out.
And for that mid lane matchup, I mean, I love Vel'Koz. He's one of my most played, super fun champion, but he is harder to pilot, I would say, than the Syndra. Syndra just has a very reliable way to play a team fight. You get a few Qs down, or maybe you use your R, you throw the stun into the enemy team, huge value. Vel'Koz needs to position very well because he stuns himself, or not stuns himself, but, he has to stand still to get that damage off during the ult. And so if he's not building himself a lead in lane, I think that the Syndra is just going to get more value. There's also not a super beefy front line for the side of XSV to buy that the Vel'Koz space, but they do have zone controlled tools. Urgot and Vi can still help buy some space. Nami Wave is on the table. Flame Chompers are on the table, but Syndicate really wants to go in, and I worry that Syndra might have a tough time with the team compositions that have been drafted.
We'll see how it goes. Urgot being selected, they really want to give some comfort over to their top side, but using 5 bans in the mid lane makes sense from how important Syndra is to the team comp on that carry. We'll have to see if it's able to bear fruit right here in game number 4. Both teams opting to go for the default. No shenanigans needed, especially when there's a lot on the line. Remember last time when Concerned Badger walked up and just died.
Concerned Badger was playing with a handicap last game and still did most damage. So this time, if he can avoid dying level 1, who knows what he can do. But it's going to be the Ghost in the mid lane for Concerned Badger up against the TP for Vel'Koz. Now, the TP does make it a little easier to side lane, but I do think that's a champion that struggles to get maximum value out of that in a team fight. If you're late to the fight, you want to be playing for the zone control, throwing out those Qs, making it hard for the opponent to approach. If you're TPing in late, when the fight is already, starting to go down, it's very hard to do what you want to as the Vel'Koz.
There's a reason why Vel'Koz isn't super selected often in these team-based games. There's a lot of stuff you have to balance. There's a lot of skill expression that needs to be put out, especially in a high-pressure situation such as this game series. We'll have to see if we can see the mental on Syndra's and maintain itself, being able to hopefully maintain this lead and potentially show off what you can do. A great dodge as an opener, showing some good signs. I think what's really going to be spelling it is how these junglers are going to be able to pilot, because plenty of damage on Pickle's end, who's been the mainstay showmaker for this team.
Pickle has gotten himself an advantage in every game we've seen, really, and has been the one to watch. Is this time kind of on the back end matchup wise. The Urgot can get the advantage early on, also is rocking an Ignite. So I'm curious to see how Pickle plays when he's a little more on the weak side of things here, but so far maintaining the CS in an okay state and not taking too bad of a trade either.
And PTA too. It's just going to be so easy to be able to set up that passive, and especially in the later levels when you're able to turn on and off the purge on Urgot, which can be a little bit difficult because you sometimes can cut your DPS short. But still, a very dangerous aspect and a lot of damage. Great little bit of a trade and dodging on some crucial abilities. So Pickle is fighting on back. This is a very scary champion, K'Sante, and already trying to go up with this lead, trying to go ahead and fight it out as the wave is going to go ahead and be pushed back. Both junglers on the bottom side, but we'll see. Well, show them all once again is able to secure this grab.
And in the mid lane, both champions have used their health pots and engage.
Oh my goodness. And being able to just try to get away, has to burn the flash. Ignite is utilized. For me, it's weird. saying Pickle being so behind in the early game in the top side, but that's the power of Urgot, especially with the kill pressure of Ignite, forces the flash. At least you have TP, so you don't lose too much. You got the compensation prize going as the mid lane is going to be shoved up a little bit, and Sinja in a little bit of a trouble, but there's not much mana, and a great dodge by Concerned Badger, leading to a forced flash.
Badger's gonna force the flash out of Sinja and deplete his mana pool, but Solo Mason takes a rough chunk down bot lane, and I think Pickle surviving that Ignite all-in is really crucial for him because, I mean, these early levels are where the Urgot is going to have the best time into the Cassante, I imagine. I mean, I don't really play either of those champions. Maybe a Black Cleaver makes Urgot's life really nice into him too, but I feel like as the game goes on, Cassante can try to, you know, play around team fights a little more than just laning and
And as well as the vision showed, this is a full health Cassante opting to go for the fight. Great trade, and here it comes. My goodness, Pathmaker was able to just turn that fight around. First blood for Pickle, once again showing off the expertise. Can't find the last third one for the Tofa strikes, but a huge fight turned around. Similar to the Olaf game, we're getting the 1v2. Well, not getting 2 kills in a double, but once again, Pickle is just a monster in the top lane.
And Smoke was able to successfully, you know, force him to back and TP in, but the issue there is that he stays at, flash mid.
Yeah, they're trying to exploit it out. Gets the knock up as well. Sinja in a heaps amount of trouble. Stays alive. Fiendish Feller is unable to get the full stacks of the Cultivation of War. No need to get that rejuvenation. You will not be able to get revived. Scammed out of it. Sinja stays alive, and my goodness, that is crucial to do so. The game is still even.
Sinja also did not get an assist on that kill, so it's entirely turret damage plus will show them all flash vault breaker that is getting the kill onto the Zahem there, and that's the type of play you kind of just got to yell at your jungler for a bit when they you know, flash in and die to the enemy turret. But yeah, up top, Warden's Mail is completed for the Cassante, and that is going to make this lane much easier. It reduces, you know, flat damage per hit, and Urgot is so reliant on that high attack speed from the Purge, so that is going to make the lane much harder for the Urgot, who, yeah, he got the TP force with the Ignite, but then stayed in lane on low HP, and we might see another fight here.
Oh, didn't get the right angle in order to continue potentially getting the all out against the wall, and hold on. Huge combo by Phenomenal, but there's no follow-up. Great stuff. The Chompers and as well as the bubble on Nami just completely separate the pair. Unable to follow up on anything. Solo Mason having to go ahead and keep farming. And another one, instant cleanse utilized, but hold on. The jungler is here, flashing the bubble. Great stuff. Unfortunate to well show the ball. Unable to get much off it. Trying to get close with the Vault Breaker to probably just follow it up quickly by utilizing the cease and desist, but the only desist is happening is getting stopped immediately. Oh, that's a terrible angle. Hold on. You actually might be in a heaps amount of trouble. Ignite is ticking. You're going into the loving embrace. Fear beyond death. There is no mercy there as a solo kill comes in from a mistimed play.
The Pickle tries to find the angle along that very edge of the wall, but it's just a few pixels off, and I don't think you should be going for that play when the margin of error is so tiny. Instead, Smoke gets a kill back in this matchup that, you know, despite having the counter pick, was not going so well for him.
I think the rough part about it, too, is that it felt like there was a little bit of a stagger step that the Pickle had a little bit before the ult was able to come down, and that kind of caused Urgot, with all those legs, being able to just maneuver a little bit more despite having that huge model to work with. But keep in mind, Xayah has the Featherstorm ready to go. That gives another huge barrier of safety, even better than a damn net at this point. You'll be able to dodge out so much, so Vi really has to pick and choose those ults correctly.
Yeah, I think Concerned Badger is going to be the real premier ult target, but that's, you know, as long as Xayah has ult up, that is only one person you can really reliably go for with the Vi. If Vi is in a good state, she can brawl with the front line too, but I mean, the big reason you pick her is for that backline access. As you can see, the Pickle is kind of just walloping smoke with these Qs, not taking much damage at all despite being down a level. Interesting how this matchup has turned around. Void Grubs taken by the side of XSVG. They've also got that first Drake, so Syndicate should try to start getting some objectives as soon as they can. And ooh,
oh, Solar Flare is able to land, so plenty of damage, but here comes the Tidal Wave. Ignite burned. Lots of skill shots missing left and right, but plenty of burst damage. The AD carries are holding on to their crucial ultimates, one for an execution, the other to dodge it out. It's a game of chicken. And Sinja, oh my goodness, being able to dodge it out there. Look at these skill shots. It's a war of attrition. It's a war of skill. But here comes the Ignite, taking it down, gets the root with the pull. But here comes the jungler, Zaheen, being able to utilize the abilities to making sure to get that gap closer. But Grant Deliverance was not good enough, and that passive is not doing you any favors. It looks like a kill, and a Vi, my goodness, is able to secure it out with the huge cease and desist. Literally blasted someone off to the side, saying, "Get out of my way!" And what looked like an even fight turned into a disaster.
Kuba is just chunking out this turret now, getting so many platings as well, and up nearly 20 CS. Ooh. Oh dear, that was very close in the mid lane, but the flash buys enough HP on the Vel'Koz to survive the combo and turn things around with the Lifeform Disintegration Ray. Yeah, I feel like Syndicate just needs to play this bot lane like, they don't really win this in the early game. Their strength comes later on. Oh, that Plasma Fission just barely hitting, and yeah, with Leona this low, I don't really see the angle for Solo Mason to make this play happen. You can see he's playing so aggressive, has the ult and the barrier, but like with either of those abilities, it's like if you use barrier or you use ult, as soon as that wears off, you're just getting chunked down, and then wow, I didn't notice that's how.
Yeah, that's my bag. Literally just got tossed aside. Was like, get out of my way. And then the 1v1 here was, that's like the salt on the wound. So
close to lethal, but yeah, it's just gotta play these skill shots right. It's a game of dodgeball, and it looks really good for Concerned Badger at first, but he whiffs 2 abilities there essentially, and then the Lifeform Disintegration Ray with the passive stacked up does so much damage.
Get researched, buddy. That's all
oh, but now we're back to live, and there is a shutdown going the waves ahead.
I'm not gonna lie. If I'm Concerned Badger, I'm yelling at my jungler. That was my kill, like straight up. Literally, auto come down, and I'm like, if I'm Concerned Badger, I'm screaming, because that should have been like the reciprocated kill. Being able to get it. Zaheen having it, it's not too bad, as we're seeing an engage already happening in the bot side. Leona, I know you want to go in, but you gotta be careful. Solar Flare utilized, rooted up, and is gone. Can you able to get the kill? No, both of them having to flash away. The Mega Death Rocket is able to find its mark. Not enough for the execution, but instead, it's gonna be the unleashed power, and all members stand. Worst case scenario is literally being exhibited right now. Concerned Badger has to turn tail and run. Another disaster strikes in the bot lane.
I think Phenomenal just needs to lay off the gas a little bit. Most of the time, the Xayah Leona lane is just at lower HP because Jinx and Nami outrange them and are more easily able to stack up the lethal tempo, which is getting so much value. And it's kind of illegal to go in when your AD carry is farming under turret, because if the play doesn't go well for you, then you've just, basically denied your own carry a whole bunch of minions from them being forced to commit to your own play. And yeah, consequently, things are coming up even more in XSVG's favor. They are up about 3,500 gold now at this 12-minute mark. It's still playable for Syndicate, but they need to start getting some objectives on the board and start finding some of these shutdowns.
Yeah, and having to run away is Urgot. And also keep in mind, when that was happening, look at Jinx's items too. I am never calling for my support to engage on that monstrous thing. at 13 minutes on the clock. Okay, don't mess this one up, right? Yes, there we go. Has to force out the flash. Another one to follow. Hold on. No, okay, just barely doesn't get away with it, Mike. And I know Pickle was sweating a little bit, saying, this cannot be happening again to me. Finally, gets the solo kill with an ult in the right direction. However, as per usual for Pickle, looking at the other lanes, they're not doing so well.
No, the rest of the lanes are not doing so hot as Phenomenal eats another bubble into the zap and just loses a huge chunk of HP. But the Cassante can be a big threat in this game. If he can get onto the back line, he can isolate the Vel'Koz or the Jinx or even the Nami if he decides to, and probably take them down with, a great degree of ease. Please don't fight Phenomenal. What are you doing?
Stop. Oh my god, like, we gotta... There's some, like, enraged rabid badger in... What? Okay, they're gonna go for it. I don't think it's the wise decision. All of them utilizing the flashes as well. Zaheen ultimate does go wide, and another botched attempt in the bot lane. Gonna lead to a teleport being utilized on the opposite edge, Sinja as the insurance policy. But in all honesty, it feels like someone in this team is getting scammed out of here. And here comes Vi, once again, undeterred, unperturbed, able to get it out. Disintegration of the life form is gone. You just got researched once again. And honestly, the research needs to happen in the bot lane for the opposite team. We have to stop trying this.
I don't know why they keep playing into a lane that is already losing. Just get Cassante ahead, take the Herald. The game plan seems pretty simple from that perspective, but yeah, instead it's a lot of forcing in the bot lane, and every time it comes back to bite Syndicate in some way or another. And in this case, even they do burn Sinja's TP bot, but Concerned Badger tries to get too much out of that, bites off more than he can chew, going for those mid lane plates, and gets ulted by Will Show Them All into another death.
Uh-oh. I know you're good, but I don't think you're surviving 3 different members, especially the all-out utilize to just get away, but it does reduce your defensive stats. Lots of damage, but there's no follow-up. This Zaheen is way too behind, and in the bot side, we're starting to see another swing over. Life Disintegration Ray, plenty of resources burn, plenty of research done.
Wait.
A shutdown happens on the other side, so at least you get that. Vault Breaker gets to that. Flash forward, being able to get it all. Sinja, once again, is able to get the kill, at least for Sola Mason. You're able to get a shutdown of your own, but you look off on the other side of your map, and you're starting to get concerned.
Well, you know what they say, if at first you don't succeed, try again, and Phenomenal keeps trying, and somehow, this time it worked. I mean, we didn't see it, but they get a clean 2 for 2 in the bot lane, and that is going to breathe some amount of life into Syndicate solo Pickle. It will help them, potentially contest this Drake. They will try to not get 3-0'd, but in the mid lane, things are looking rough, and I think Concerned Badger, as you were saying, is really kind of yelling at Fiendish Feller. He needs to be able to burst this Vel'Koz, and even just a small difference in gold is enough to make this so that Sinja lives and then can fire back on him. So got a gank in top.
And it ain't such a small deal after all. Oh, no. Goodbye. Why are we near the tower when it's that low? Don't know. It don't matter because this character is gonna go down. Hold on. Counter engage. Great damage done, but let's be honest. Zaheen is not strong.
He has the res.
Oh my goodness. The res is ready to go, but instantly. Great stuff. They're like, oh, your res is ready? Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and run away, not give this Kaisa any chance to get anything started. Look at these items, by the way. It's looking rough. And honestly, Leona is not tanky at all. You're gonna do your... Oh, no. Just go the other way. Give up your tower. It's fine. You just got to let it go.
Syndicate bleeding out in the tower department, closing in on a 5,000 gold lead for XSV. Greed, living up to the name, accumulating a lot of wealth in a very unjust manner. They have been bullying Syndicate across the map for the most part this game. Top lane was looking good for the Pickle, but once XSV realized they could send other people up there, it's not been going so hot for this Cassante, who is very invested in the armor department. When team fights roll around, I am a little scared for the amount of damage that Sinja will deal to him, because I don't know if the Cassante is going to be ready for it. I think he thinks himself quite tanky, and that might not be the case.
Yeah. So-called tanks, when they discover ability power damage, does not get blocked by armor, and as well as the disintegration ray is able to just make your health disappear. Jinx is so confident, by the way. Just had like no boots. It's not ready to be up yet. Building IE second item. This Jinx is going to shred the enemy team, especially when the get excited goes off. I'm really scared about this monster being released. Pickle is trying to get something started and finally is able to pull this poor Urgot. Phoenix Fella got the kill. Poor Urgot.
I have to say the Cassante or the Zehen has not felt like the most confident pick in this game. You saw in that previous fight, as soon as the res came up from Fiendish Feller, he just backed off from his own play, and I think he could have potentially looked to extend it a little longer. Rift Herald down bot side, nearly going to claim this turret, and if Koopa gets this kill, or I mean, gets the turret, he's going to get excited. The gold bleed is just exploding in XSV's favor. Actually, it's a little smaller than it was last time I talked about the gold bleed, but the map control they are getting is huge. Fiendish Feller.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he got the blue, so...
You got blue?
Did he?
Right?
Wait, I don't think he did. There's 3 blue buffs on the side of XSV. There's no way. That the math doesn't work out that way. It must have been, we'll show them all who got the blue buff, and something else here too.
And great, like, armor injection. With a lot of damage that this Solo Mason is just trying to desperately pull out there. Has forced to use a great bubble, and as well as the flash trying to get some kind of pull. Honestly, this has been a great showing by Jellybean Jeff. Has been so consistent on these bubbles, forcing out summoner spells, forcing out defensive ultimates, and so far has been rewarded plentiful. When this Jinx goes back, by the way, I think we'll have IE ready to go. And if you thought you were surviving earlier, unless your name is the Pickle, I don't think you'll be living anytime soon when a few rockets land.
It's just looking so tough for Syndicate at this point. They don't really have a great carry threat here. The Xayah gets outranged by the Jinx. Syndra is 1 and 4. Zehen and Cassante are really going to struggle to access their targets with, being also a little bit behind at this current point. And we'll show them all can kind of just play Peel for Jinx because she is so strong, has the IE completed, and is already working on another crit item here. So it's, I think that, Syndicate's really just going to need to play a whole lot better than their opposition if they want to pull things back here, and the angle to do that is not obvious.
Yeah, and not just better, they really need to see mistakes on the other end to try to get this one back. And here is one, but it's not for the side that you would like. Unstoppable afterwards has to flash the chompers. Here comes the tidal wave and the bubble as well. It's a chain CC. Jellybean gets the kill, but honestly, all you care about is being able to keep deconstructing these towers. Great solar flare, but a counteract on the stun. Flash and Bird still alive. Almost gets the kill in response, but that's gotta sting. No Teemo needed. Sinja lives and is able to make sure the team does not get punished.
These huge shutdowns nearly being collected by Syndicate several times, but they just aren't ahead. They aren't in a position to deal the damage. Ooh, Jellybean Jeff takes a big tower shot, but phenomenal. I don't think is going to be able to chase. Koopa has to burn the flash, getting a little cocky with the Cassante as well. And, talking about itemization a little bit in the mid lane, this is a game where you are the solo AP threat. I think that Concerned Badger should have total license to just go the, Ludens, Shadow Flame, the Sorcerer's Shoes here. Instead is going for a little bit more of a haste-focused build, which is great when the enemy team has a lot of frontline, but the thing is, the only frontline on the other team this game is Urgot and Vi. If Vi is on top of you, you're already kind of in trouble, and Urgot, is already going to struggle to touch you, so I feel like this is the burst build would have been great for the center here, and that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, honestly, all the Zhonya's is doing in my end is just a nice little skill check for both Jellybean Jeff and as well as Sinja. Can you land your CC after the Zhonya's comes out? If you're Koopa, you don't really get a quiz you kind of get the answer given to you by just placing chompers down. There's nothing much you can really do to counteract it. But because of that Zon, I just don't agree with it. I think you're 100% right on the money. You need this damage. If you're behind, you need to invest more in trying to get it to happen. And another tower is going to go ahead and fall a little bit of a compensation at least. But geez, it's not looking good. And there's no like boots or anything on the 8 carries either.
They have them in their special slot. If you look on the side of the scoreboard, that's where they are.
I'm out there.
Over on the champion portraits. Yeah, it's hard to see. I don't like it. Every time I look at my 80 carry in game, I'm like, where are your boots? And I'm like, oh, it's next to your summoner spells. Of course, that's where boots go. Definitely. But it's gonna be a soul fight here.
Oh my god, did you see Leona?
Fight is an optimistic word.
It's more like a, when the short kid gets like pushed away. We're not gonna talk about that. As the fight breaks out, Zaheen getting desperate, CC'd up, and it is gonna go ahead and be gone. Pulled in by Urgot, who's happy to go ahead and get an execution down. Here comes the feathers. They fly out, but the only one dying is gonna be yourself. Double kill comes in the favor of this Jinx. She's able to keep it on going. Koopa gets excited, and that's Soul at 24 minutes. Baron soon to follow. This game might as well be over on the golden logistical side. It's a losing battle, and my goodness, does it suck if you're a pickle.
-1 on the cannon minion for Koopa there. Could use to get excited to get in range. So that is, that's something, I guess. Oh, wait, Sinja just giving over a little freebie, trying to pressure towers while his team's doing Baron, and does manage to get the flash out of Concerned Badger at least, but that is a little bit of gold investment into the Syndra. Unfortunately, though, she is using it to build defensive items, it seems like, and that is just, when you're behind, you need ways to kill the enemy. If you live longer, you just die slower. If you don't do damage, they don't care. So, that's gonna be... the Zhonya's is completed, and I mean, it does contain an endlessly large rod. It's not like previous seasons where it gave like no AP. Nothing. It does give a little more than in ancient history, but it still is not a damage first item.
Oh, goodbye, Pickle. I don't think you'll be escaping now. And thumbs up. That's all you can really send off, unfortunately, to your opponent, who's been so good in top side, but no chance for survival. Being able to just kind of run around, hopefully try to get something, but honestly, you're just stalling for time. Here it comes. Smoke is on a killing spree, and as well as that flash being... Oh, goodbye. Goodbye. Koopa's able to get a free one, but here comes the feathers. They're gonna go ahead and fly. Great movement in order to dodge it, but you can only dodge so many skill shot abilities, can't you, Potato? As the cleanup crew is finally arrived, it's looking like it's gonna be doom and gloom. Triple kill for Koopa.
Doom and Gloom and Syndicate go boom. With the Baron buff, it looks like XSV are set to end this game, potentially. The death timers are pretty short because we are still pretty early in this game, but even if Syndicate come back up, they might just be feeding another chain of resets into the Get Excited passive from Koopa. He's already gonna work on that turret, decide to ditch it to go for the inhibitor, and now Pickle stands against the world.
Yeah. And here comes a huge ult, I think. No, we'll go with that. Pickle staying alive, but it seems to be all but over. Ooh, double kill in order. Going over for the Nami. Urgot, once again, being able to set up and be strong. The bubble at the last second. Pad those stats, my friend. It's going to be a cleanup. Rue, congratulations to Excessive Greed.
Excessive Greed pulling out their most convincing win of the series in game number 4, I would say anyway, as it's going to be domination from start to finish in that one. As much as Syndicate Solo Pickle was trying to fight back, we are getting a little Undertale gameplay up there, and I lost my train of thought, to be honest.
We're watching Undertale. Guys, it's over. The one...
Maybe Syndicate Solo Pickle can take like a play from the Undertale book, and instead of fighting, they can look in their action book. Maybe they can try to hug it out with XSV, bait them into some sort of a non-traditional victory style. But yeah, that is going to be a wrap for the series. I was hoping after game number 3, we saw a lot of hope coming through from the side of Syndicate, and we thought, maybe this is the end of the road for XSV's champion pool. But instead, it really felt like Syndicate, Solo, Pickle were the ones whose champion pool had been exposed. The draft looked rough, and it was pure destruction.
That's one way of putting it. It felt like there was a genocide run. It just wasn't for the main characters for Pickle. They got slaughtered, and unfortunately, it just felt like a culmination of a bunch of micro mistakes that snowballed into a disaster. Honestly, excellent work on the Vi. I felt like that was like one of the biggest pressure points we've seen by Well Show Them All, who's honestly in this whole series has been a constant threat, and in my opinion, would be like the top contender for the most valuable player of the series. I got the clutch steal in one of those games, being able to constantly put that jungle pressure out there. But honestly, in that game, let's be real, Koopa was untouchable. It was crazy.
Yeah, Koopa was untouchable in that game. 9-1 and 13. Statement performance there. But I mean, I feel like for MVP of the series, it's hard for me to think of anyone other than Sinja. From the Akali in game 1, the Deathless Ari in game number 2, the Aurora, which, despite losing and honestly maybe struggling a little in the late game, in the third game, was still putting out good performances in kind of a solo sense. And then Vel'Koz, which was like frankly not perfect, but still got the job done. I think he was, for me, the most consistent player on the side of XSV.
Call me a typical League of Legends player because I got recency bias. That's why I probably should have thought about the previous ones, but still great stuff. Big upset according to the stats as well, from just barely making it in to being the wild card team, showing exactly what they got to do and having to do what it takes. Because honestly, some of those games were so one-sided, it was crazy. That's 2 that we've seen. Was it game number 2, I believe? And then this final one where it just looked like one side was just on pedal to the metal, unstoppable force. And no Malphite was needed. It was banned all the time.
Yeah, and even the one win Syndicate had was still a very close game. Like that could have, at various points during the game, completely swung the other way. So although it's well played by Syndicate across the series, they still put in a very good effort. It feels like XSV from start to finish was pretty dominant, even in that loss, putting up a compelling case for how it could have been a win.
Mm-hmm. So fantastic time, both of them then being able to do it. Congratulations to Excessive Greed. They were able to take it 3-1 the last game in a very convincing manner. Honestly, great stuff to production. The replays were fun. Being able to see so many of these things. A lot of players played out of their mind. It's just that, things get messy in the last games, especially when there's a lot of pressure on the line.
Yeah, I mean, so often we see games or see best of 5s especially kind of go the distance, and then things just collapse for someone in that last game. Like, I mean, this didn't even go 5 games, but this was just 4 for us here. But it's a tale as old as time, especially since the introduction of Fearless, I would say, where the teams make you think it's close, and then all of a sudden it's not, because someone has just run out of steam a little quicker than the other guys.
So that's going to close it out for today. Big shout outs to production. Once again, Sheragon, fantastic work on the snaps. And sorry? Team record. I don't know. It would 4-4 XSV. And 5-3.
Okay, so we got that is gonna put XSV to a 4-4 series score across the season, excuse me. And Syndicate Solo Pickle with that loss out of playoffs now, I believe, and and dropping them to a 5-3 record.
That's crazy. These numbers do not like. They're just like, oh, who made it to playoffs? You're like, oh, the 5-3. It's like, it's not what happened.
Yeah, I mean, some teams just get that playoff buff. They lock in, they show up because it's time to get real. You know, it's when elimination's on the line, it's different. I mean, when you're in the regular season, sometimes it sucks when you get to that elimination game and you're like, oh, wait, we can't really do anything about it. Like the part of your brain that like turns on when you're procrastinating just isn't there in time. But yeah, but this was playoffs. And unfortunately for Syndicate Solo Pickle, it's going to be the end of their playoffs run. For XSV, going to be a good sign for things to come going into the quarterfinals, though.
Yeah, excited to see more. Thank you so much everyone for watching. We're gonna go ahead and say goodnight to everyone. Thank you so much for watching the entire series. If y'all want to follow the socials, they are down right here for both Real Potato and I. Thank you all. Have a fantastic night and congratulations once again to Excessive Greed.